Beyonce has stopped doing interviews, and this is why. Now, Jay-Z is a pretty big reason why Beyonce doesn't do these anymore. Now, if you didn't know, Jay-Z and Beyonce have a 12-year age gap, and they met when Beyonce was really young. Now, it seems like the couple can't make up their mind about how old she was when they met. Not to mention, whenever Jay-Z is asked about their first meeting, he gets extremely nervous. Jay-Z has a history of going for younger girls, so it really has people wondering if they're lying about when they met to make Jay look less creepy. And then there's the actual interview where Beyonce was asked about Jay-Z and how he could have cheated on her in 2005. You see, prior to their marriage, rumors swirled that the couple had broken up secretly in 2005. The reason for their separation was never confirmed, but at the time there were rumors that the rapper was having an affair with his protege, Rihanna. And though the rumors were supposedly spread by PRs to boost Rihanna's profile, Beyonce wasn't sure what to make of the situation. "Tell me if I'm crossing the line," the interviewer says in the interview as he begins to ask a question about her relationship with Jay-Z. In response, Beyonce lets out a loud, uncomfortable laugh. "Ah, you crossed the line, buddy," she says. "Really?" he asks. "Yes, I don't want to talk about it. You gotta hear the album to figure that out," she says, referencing her 2008 album, I Am Sasha Fierce. Now, it also makes sense that she wouldn't want to do interviews right now, as she and Jay-Z are already under public scrutiny due to their connection to Diddy. Now, Diddy and the couple were really good friends, but they're trying to hide that now that Diddy has been arrested for unspeakable crimes. Now, Beyonce and Jay-Z would always go to his parties and would even play unreleased music there. Now, in December 2024, Jay-Z was accused of committing a crime with Diddy in the year 2000. This caused a lot of outrage, and a lot of people were upset with the star. Now, Jay-Z denied all of this and Beyonce stood by him. A day after the accusations were made, it was the premiere of the film of The Lion King that Beyonce and their daughter were in. Now, Jay-Z joined them on the red carpet to get their photos taken, but there were no interviews done because they didn't want to be asked about Diddy and Jay-Z's involvement. Now, some people say that Beyonce is actually too famous now to give interviews. After she released her self-titled album in 2013, she stopped giving any interviews to conventional media outlets. Since then, she's appeared in various magazine profiles, but either submits her own personal essays or doesn't say anything at all. Now, after conducting an interview-free profile of Beyonce for a 2015 issue of Vogue, writer Margot Jefferson told the New York Times that the performer has to be studying how effective her interviews have been so far. They may have decided that they do not contribute as dazzlingly to the portrait of Beyonce than the other stuff. Also, Beyonce has received weird requests while doing interviews in the past, like the one time when Barbara Walters paid her $5 to sing to her. Yep, when Beyonce was doing an interview with her, Barbara brought up that Beyonce said when she was a kid, she would sing for her neighbors if they gave her $5. Now, Beyonce confirmed that this was true, and so Barbara then gave her $5 and told her to sing anything at all. Now, Beyonce seemed a little taken aback from this, but decides to sing a little bit. Honestly though, this whole part of the interview is just awkward. And since Beyonce hasn't done interviews in a while, she could be asked about some crazy things, like the whole "thank you Beyonce" trend. Now, fans have brought up the fact that when a lot of people in Hollywood win major awards against Beyonce, they always have to thank her or mention her in some way in their speech, and if they don't, they have an untimely passing or an accident. I mean, some people even claim that Kanye West saved Taylor Swift from Beyonce's wrath when he stormed the stage at the VMAs to interrupt her. Now, I'm sure Beyonce doesn't want to talk and deal with all of that in an interview. Beyonce has had some strange moments with Ellen DeGeneres over the years, so it makes sense that she would stop doing interviews with her. Now, one year at the Grammys, Beyonce was presenting an award with Ellen, but when she was speaking, Ellen dramatically kept looking at Beyonce, and it was just really weird and awkward. Beyonce lets out a little fake laugh and continues on reading off the teleprompter, but it was just so weird that Ellen did that, and a lot of people called out Ellen for her behavior. In the comments, people are defending Beyonce, with one person saying, "You just know after this, Bey told her people to never book her anything with Ellen ever again." Although her words didn't say it, her eyes definitely said, "Get out of my face," like a true lady. Now, we all know that Ellen did not always treat her guests with respect, so this could be a reason why Beyonce was never seen with Ellen again. Beyonce has also been asked weird questions while doing interviews, and I can't blame her for not wanting to deal with that anymore. A clip has recently resurfaced of Destiny's Child being interviewed about the foot and mouth epidemic back in 2001. Now, the girl group had just hit the red carpet at the Brit Awards when they were quizzed about the news, and even they were weirded out. They didn't know what it was, and when it was explained to them, they didn't really seem to care that much. "We don't know anything about that, all we know is we just got here," Beyonce replies. Now, Kelly Rowland chimes in, "Some tests should be run so this can stop." But yeah, it was just a weird question to be asked. One person commented on the clip, "We need to bring back normalize, I don't know anything about that," as a valid response for whenever someone asks a celebrity a question like this. Now, I wonder if Beyonce herself ever looked back at this video and wondered, "Damn, I said that, WTF was I on, LMAO." But yeah, this was a very strange question for sure. No singer is perfect, but Beyonce has been caught lip-syncing a lot in her career, and she's been called out for it. Now, this especially drew criticism when she performed the national anthem at the 2013 presidential inauguration, as it was later discovered that she was lip-syncing. Now, she later admitted to this in an interview, which is pretty embarrassing. She said she's a perfectionist and wanted her performance for President Barack Obama to be a memorable one. She called the day emotional and said, "I practiced until my feet bleed, and I did not have time to rehearse with the orchestra. Due to no proper sound check, I did not feel comfortable taking a risk. It was about the president and the inauguration, and I wanted to make him and my country proud, so I decided to sing along with my pre-recorded track, which is very common in the music industry. And I'm very proud of my performance," she said. At other performances, she's been caught lip-syncing certain songs as well, but people think that's due to the difficulty of some of her songs. Now, regardless, she's been caught many times, and owning up to it and her mistakes is hard for her. Then one time when she was being interviewed on 60 Minutes, she was asked if Sasha, her alter ego, would ever do an interview. Beyonce then fake laughs and says no, she never has and never would. And I understand that because, again, that's weird. Now, if you didn't know, Beyonce has an alter ego. She's named Sasha Fierce. She's been Sasha since at least 2003, and it seems like the Fierce was added in 2008 for her album. Now, Beyonce said that she originally created the alter ego Sasha Fierce to keep that stage persona separate from who she really is. She described Sasha Fierce as being too aggressive, too strong, too sassy, and too sexy, stating, "I'm not like her in real life at all." But in February 2010, she announced in an interview with Allure magazine that she was comfortable enough with herself to no longer need Sasha Fierce. And not to mention, when celebrities do interviews, their words can be twisted by the media. Beyonce is very particular about her image and only shows things she wants to. By doing an interview, that could change and she could lose control, which isn't something that she wants. Not to mention, her fans and stan Twitter can be kinda crazy, and there would be so many fights over what she said, and it would create bad press.
Has Jennifer Lopez always been afraid of Diddy? Well, a resurfaced interview has come to light, and her reaction is questionable. Comments Jennifer Lopez made about her ex-boyfriend Sean Puff Daddy Diddy Combs in a 2002 interview have resurfaced amid the music mogul's bombshell trial. The rapper is currently on trial after pleading not guilty to allegations of SA and illegal human transporting by force, fraud, and coercion, and conspiracy, and transportation to engage in solicitation. An old video of Jennifer Lopez has resurfaced where the singer was asked in an interview if she ever felt afraid of Diddy. The video of Jennifer Lopez is from an interview back in 2002, and the resurfaced clip has everyone talking whilst, the Diddy trial continues. Now, a year after their 2001 split, Lopez reflected on the romance in a primetime special edition interview with Diane Sawyer, who asked her again, if she was afraid at all during her whole relationship with him. Diane Sawyer asked Jennifer Lopez about Diddy in the resurfaced clip, referring to a picture of the pair of them on the red carpet when they were actually dating. Sawyer asks, and she says, what about Sean Combs, Puffy, P. Diddy, the man who, courted controversy if not outright danger? He always seemed to be the one in control. We wondered, looking at the girl on the red carpet, who was she? Was she afraid? Jennifer Lopez replies, no. I don't think she was afraid. I just think that, I at the time was, I cared very deeply for Sean, and you know what? We just didn't have the same kind of ideals about life and family and stuff like that. It just wasn't a good relationship for me. It didn't have so much to do with him as it had to do with me at the time. I had to learn to care about myself a little bit more and put up certain boundaries of what I would accept and wouldn't accept, because really he was just being himself. He wasn't doing anything wrong, and he felt like he loved me very much, and I know he did, and I felt like the same way. So if I was unhappy in some way, then I was the one who had to do something, not him. He was doing everything he wanted to do. Diddy and Jennifer Lopez began dating around 1999. Now, their relationship was glamorous and high profile, marked by red carpet appearances, tabloid attention. However, things took a very dramatic turn in December 1999 when the couple were in a nightclub bangout in New York City. Although both were arrested, Lopez was quickly cleared, while Diddy faced a very lengthy legal battle before being acquitted. Jennifer Lopez's resurfaced 2002 interview left, people saying she dodged a big one by parting ways with Diddy. Now, one user commented under the resurfaced interview on Instagram saying she dropped him like a hot potato. She took the opportunity of his legal troubles to leave. Perfect timing. He likely was walking on eggshells with the law at the time. Another said she ran for her life from him when she realized who he really is. Whereas a person added, good for her, glad she got out. Another person said, she ran in time, it makes me happy. She's not guilty of anything, she just ran and protected herself because no one else would do it for her. Jennifer Lopez's interview, resurfaced just a few days after another clip showing her mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez's irate reaction to a question over her possible romantic reconciliation with Diddy. It regained a lot of attention. The incident actually took place on Wendy Williams' famed talk show, where she asked Lopez, so if you recall, the last time you were here, I was telling you that I could always see you guys getting back with Puffy in a little way, back together. Now, the Hollywood diva chuckled over the question and flung her head back before responding, I remember you said that. Is JLo hiding anything, or is she really oblivious to it all? Austin Butler and Drew Barrymore. Austin Butler has been known to have a gaze that sucks people in, especially those interviewing him. When he went on to Drew Barrymore's talk show, he couldn't seem to take his eyes and gaze off of her during the whole segment. Drew was explaining to Austin that she had a date coming up and how she hasn't been on a date in like a really long time. Austin proceeded to offer her some dating advice while telling her that he actually has a good feeling about it for her, but also offering to be her free get out of this situation phone call should she need it. He said he couldn't wait to get updates on her date and repeatedly said she could call or text him. Fans immediately picked up on this flirtatious vibe with her, and one person actually online said, find you a man who looks at you the way Austin Butler looks at Drew, with another person saying, not Austin Butler having a crush on Drew Barrymore. Madonna and Arsenio Hall. The Madonna interview on the Arsenio Hall show back in 1990 is often cited as one of the most memorable and provocative moments in television history. Madonna appeared on the show on May 1st, 1990 to promote her upcoming Blonde Ambition World Tour. The interview started off very lighthearted, with Madonna and Arsenio joking about her music and dance moves. However, things took a very flirtatious turn when Madonna began to tease Arsenio about his dance skills. She leaned in close, touched his leg, and made suggestive comments, leaving Arsenio visibly uncomfortable. The interview sparked controversy due to Madonna's provocative behavior and suggestive comments. Some critics accused her of being too flirtatious and crossing the line of professionalism. Madonna later defended her actions, stating that she was simply trying to push boundaries and challenge societal norms. Lady Gaga and Ellen DeGeneres. Lady Gaga's interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show back in 2011 was one no one will forget. Gaga appeared on the show to promote her album and perform her hit single Judas. Now, during the interview, Gaga and Ellen DeGeneres shared a very playful and flirtatious moment. Ellen teased Gaga about her outrageous fashion sense, and Gaga responded by jokingly flirting with Ellen. The two shared a fake kiss, and Gaga even pretended to lick Ellen's face. Yes, so the audience erupted in cheers and applause, and the moment became a highlight of the show. Dakota Johnson and Leslie Mann. Now, while promoting their romantic comedy How to Be Single in 2016, Dakota Johnson and Leslie Mann kept each other company during the press junket. Now, according to Harper's Bazaar, the actresses couldn't help but flirt with Miami WSBN reporter Chris Van Vliet, whom they referred to as the hot guy. Along with giggling flirtatiously, Johnson and Mann told him to take off his shirts and leave the last one unbuttoned. It began, innocently enough, with Mann complimenting the journalist's, cute socks. She started off by saying, "Are you single? You're handsome." The 3-minute interview quickly spiraled out of control, but Johnson asking, Vliet if he worked out because he looked, swolled up. The co-stars then coaxed him into unbuttoning his shirt, telling him they wouldn't speak unless he did as they asked. Dakota would later go on to apologize for her inappropriate behavior, feeling like it was all just a little too much. Andrew Garfield and Stephen Colbert. Andrew Garfield was a guest on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert back in 2017. Now, after a discussion about Garfield's kiss with Ryan Reynolds at the Golden Globes, Colbert asked Garfield if he was comfortable kissing another man, to which Garfield replied affirmatively. Now, Garfield explained that, he wanted to show Ryan Reynolds that he loved him regardless of whether he won or lost. Garfield and Stephen ended up sharing their own kiss, and Colbert actually joked about the kiss and even said that Garfield was a very gentle lover. The two ended up kissing twice. Of course, the audience, hooed and hawed, and it made headlines immediately, with many people, questioning the whole thing. Chelsea Handler and Michael Strawn. Now, Chelsea Handler appeared twice on Live with Kelly and Michael within 3 months, and things got heated between her and the host. Handler commented on Strawn's cellulite, and he replied saying that blacks just don't crack. Now, the second time she returned, the actress confessed that people thought they had chemistry during her previous appearance and that she liked black guys. Now, at the same time, Strawn stated that everybody likes chocolate, as reported apparently by Nicki Swift. Now, she jokingly said that he was throwing his body at her and that she greatly appreciated it. Now, Kelly asked if they ever thought about actually going on a date, and the two, joked, basically saying they do have quite a bit of chemistry, so maybe a possible pairing in the future we could see. Nicole Kidman and Jimmy Fallon could have been a couple. One of the most memorable moments in recent late night years was when Jimmy Fallon had Nicole Kidman on his show, and everything would change when she was interviewed. During the interview, Kidman admitted that she had a crush on Fallon when they met back in the 90s, which made for very awkward moments as the actress brought up old feelings. Nicole Kidman revealed a past date with Fallon, which he was actually unaware of, causing him to blush and cringe as she, recounted the awkward encounter. Kidman explained that a mutual friend, Rick, set up a meeting for her and Fallon, which she thought was a date, but Fallon thought it was about a possible movie role. Fallon recounts that he was actually playing video games and eating leftover Chinese food while Kidman was there, and he was completely oblivious to any romantic undertones. The incident became a running joke between the two, and they have remained, friends despite the near-miss romance. Now, many fans went on to say that Jimmy completely missed his chance and blew the opportunity to date the Nicole Kidman. Andrew Garfield and Amelia Dimondolberg, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, on an episode of Chicken Shop Date, which is her popular long-running YouTube interview show that takes place date style, over a meal at a local chicken shop in London. The pair's chat comes 2 years after their very first meet cute sent the internet into a frenzy. They teetered between leaning into the gimmick of the interview and their seemingly real chemistry with a lot of giggling sprinkled in. Now, Amelia told Garfield in the clip, I think that there's something going on to the point where you've been avoiding me for 2 years because the vibes are too much for you to handle. Acknowledging that they've had a couple of lovely interactions. Now, Garfield went on to say he genuinely thinks that they could have really gone on an actual date if it weren't for them being on her show. He said, take out all the practicalities and the logic, I actually believe that maybe we could have gone on a real date off camera. Now, the obvious current of electricity between the two has had the internet hungry for more after footage of several flirtatious encounters between the two went absolutely viral online. Kate Mara and Craig Ferguson, the former host of the Late Late Show, Craig Ferguson, was the flirting god on late night during his 9-season run. One of his, steamiest interviews occurred when Kate Mara came for her second appearance on the show and couldn't help but discuss lip gloss, making out, and the snake cut by his desk. Mara called him a dirty man when Ferguson flirted back with a sensual double entendre. Now, the first time Ferguson interviewed Mara, she seemed giggly at points, but it was mostly a pretty normal talk show appearance. However, at points during their first interview, Mara grabbed the host's hand and she spoke about how cuddly Scotsmen like Ferguson are. When Mara returned for her second appearance, her chemistry with Ferguson was on full display. Within a minute of Mara's second interview, she basically stated that she was jealous of Ferguson talking about kissing his previous guest, Morgan Freeman. Now, near the end of the interview, the flirting goes to like another level, or at least it seems to, because after the two of them are talking about horses, Mara makes a remark that even seems to take her by surprise. She says, "I'm really good at riding on the back of men's horses." She went on to say she didn't mean for it to come out that way, but audience members were not so convinced, and neither was his wife at the time, Messy. Mariah Carey and Howard Stern. Mariah's interview with Howard Stern in 1998 was quite possibly the most memorable one. While promoting her album, Carey was subjected to objectification and uncomfortable questioning by Stern. He made several lewd comments, leaving Carey visibly uneasy. The interview took a wrong turn when Stern began asking Carey about her personal life and relationships. Carey, however, didn't back down and instead called out Stern for his behavior. She later slammed Stern and his co-host, Robin Quivers, for their inappropriate interview style. The tension between Carey and Stern continued even after the interview. Carey reportedly continued to speak out against Stern's behavior, and the two had a somewhat contentious kind of relationship. Now, the two would eventually meet again in 2012 when Carey's then husband, Nick Cannon, was the host of America's Got Talent. With Stern as a judge, Cannon, developed a working relationship with the radio legend, and Cannon later revealed this connection helped actually bring Stern and Carey together after very long years of bad drama. And to throw in an honorable mention, I have Jack Harlow and Saweetie. The incident in question came as Harlow ambushed Saweetie during a red carpet interview before the ceremony. He surprised her by sneaking up on her and saying, "Hi, sweetie." He then introduced himself as Jack, to which she said, "I know." He then very flirtatiously said to her, "You don't like getting caught off guard?" To which she replied, "Why are you shaking?" The moment went viral, with many saying good for Jack for shooting his shot, although he missed. But later they would report that they are now friends. But let's see what the future holds. You never know.
Most people probably know that Robert Downey Jr. has had a history of substance abuse. He was introduced to these substances by his filmmaker father and was given stronger substances that resulted in him becoming an addict. The problem followed him into adulthood and nearly ended his acting career following a series of arrests. From 1996 through 2001, he was arrested several times on charges related to illegal substances, and he went through drug treatment programs and spent time in the county jail and prison. Thankfully though, he managed to kick the habit once and for all in the early 2000s, but people have still brought up this topic over and over again. In an interview about the Iron Man movies, Robert was asked an extremely personal question about his family and their shared history of substance abuse. Now, this wasn't the point of the interview, and Robert was not impressed with this question. He said, "I'm sorry, what are we doing? Are we promoting a movie?" and then walked out. The interviewer then apologized, but it was truly an out-of-pocket question, and I'm glad Robert walked out. Later, speaking to radio host Howard Stern, Robert said he didn't have any regrets about walking out of the interview. "I just wish I'd left sooner," he said. Jerry Seinfeld is best known for playing a semi-fictionalized version of himself in the sitcom Seinfeld, which he created and wrote with Larry David. Now, in 2007, Larry King had Jerry on his show, and at the time Jerry was filming for the Bee Movie and he was promoting it during filming. However, Larry asked Jerry a question about his sitcom that didn't go over too well. "You gave it up, right? They didn't cancel you, you canceled them," Larry asked. Now, Jerry did not appreciate this and sat there and stared at him with a dumbfounded expression before shooting back, "You're not aware of this? You think I got cancelled? Are you under the impression that I got cancelled?" asked Jerry, his voice rising. Larry then sensed that Jerry was behaving rather sensitively to the question. "Have I hurt you, Jerry?" he asked, and Jerry went off by saying, "I thought it was well documented. Is this still CNN? Yeah, no, I went off the air. I was the #1 show on television, Larry. Do you know who I am? 75 million viewers, the last episode." Wow, yeah, he really put him in his place. Then in 2014, Samuel L. Jackson was doing an interview with KTLA Sam Rubin, who asked Samuel what the reaction was to his Super Bowl commercial. Now, the problem was Samuel didn't do the commercial, it was another actor, and Sam got it wrong. Sam looked off camera as he realized his mistake, and Samuel called him out saying, "You're the entertainment reporter for the station, and you don't know the difference between me and Lawrence Fishburne. That must be a very short line for your job outside there," he said. Now, he then went on a tangent for about 2 minutes, calling out the reporter, and Sam apologized profusely. Later, Sam issued an apology saying, "I indicated to Samuel that I'd seen him during the Super Bowl, and he thought I had confused him with the commercial Lawrence Fishburne had done for a car company. Of course, a Captain America ad had also run during the Super Bowl, but I immediately felt so dumb I didn't bring that up, and he gave me the slacking that was well deserved," the reporter said. He then apologized further by saying, "I pride myself on the fact that unlike a lot of people who do this kind of work, more often than not, I really do know what I'm talking about, but I didn't 30 minutes ago, and I'm really embarrassed about it, and I very much apologize to Samuel L. Jackson and anyone else who was offended for what was a very amateur mistake." Then in 2011, Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake were at a press conference in Moscow to promote their film Friends with Benefits. Now, during the conference, Mila, who speaks Russian, Mila went back and forth with the reporter saying, "Well, if he wants to make movies and he can, why shouldn't he? What kind of question is that? Why are you here, huh?" Now, the reporter responded with, "Well, I'm just doing my job," and Mila said, "Well, so is he. It's the same thing." Now, I'm glad Mila stood up for Justin because the reporter was just being straight up rude. Justin then tried to keep up with the conversation via an earpiece providing a delayed translation, and afterwards he pointed to Mila and said, "This is my bodyguard." Now, Cara Delevingne was interviewed for Good Day Sacramento to promote her film Paper Towns. She was video chatting as she wasn't actually in the studio, and she was asked questions about the film, and she made a lot of sarcastic comments, obviously joking. Now, the host didn't seem to understand this, and one host said that they saw her in London a couple weeks ago being interviewed, and she seemed more excited about the film, and they asked, "Are you exhausted?" which is just a crazy question to ask. Cara seemed visibly upset about this comment, saying no, she's still very excited, and that the premiere was last night and it was emotional. Now, she also added that this interview was happening in the morning, so she just needed more energy. Now, the host then said that she seemed irritated and said they'd let her go before saying one more line of, "Go take a little nap, have a Red Bull, how about that?" Now, Cara awkwardly smiles and says, "Okay, now too far," and stares into the camera. And obviously uncomfortable, they end the feed on Cara's end as the hosts go to bash her and talk poorly about her. Now, it's all just so rude and unnecessary, and she didn't deserve to be treated that way. Carmen Carrea is a model who in 2014 Katie Couric invited to be on her talk show. After Carmen discussed her modeling career as a trans woman, Katie began asking about her transition. She asked, "Was the whole process painful physically for you? And your private parts are different now, aren't they?" Now, the second question caused Carmen to shush Katie. "I don't want to talk about it because it's really personal," she said. "I don't know, I'd rather talk about my modeling stuff. I'd rather talk about being in W and maybe being in Italian Vogue and doing doing fun stuff and showing people that after the transition, there's still life to live. I still have my career goals, I still have my family goals. Katie received backlash for her questions, and Laverne Cox, who appeared on the show after Carmen, told the host that focusing on transgender people's transitions rather than their daily lives objectifies them. Now in 2017, Katie revealed that she had the opportunity to cut the segment out of the interview, but decided to keep it as an educational moment for her audience. I discussed it with Laverne Cox, and I wanted, maybe foolishly, to use myself as an example to really have a teachable moment on the show, she told the Daily Beast. That was my intent, and I guess I did it at the expense of making myself seem like an insensitive buffoon, which I guess I was. Now, in 2015, Ariana Grande did a radio interview with Los Angeles' Power 106, DJs Just Incredible, and Eric D. Lux. Now, unfortunately, these men decided to ask Ariana sexist questions instead of talking to her about her music and career. If you could use makeup or your phone one last time, what would you pick? One of them asked. Now, Ariana was thrown by this question and responded with, "Is this men assuming that's what girls would have to choose between?" And later in the interview, they asked her how long she could go without being on her phone, and she puts them in their place by saying she can go a long time without her phone, to which one the host replies with, "Ladies learn," and Ariana hits back with, "Boys learn. Boys and girls learn. We can all learn." Ariana was clearly uncomfortable throughout the whole interview, and the radio host should have known better, and I'm glad Ariana called them out for their behavior. And finally, back in 2012, Nicki Minaj and radio host Peter Rosenberg got into a feud after Peter declared at that year's Hot 97 Summer Jam concert that her Pink Friday Roman Reloaded single Starships wasn't real hip-hop. A year later, the pair spoke on Hot 97, and Nicki took some shots at Peter after he disrespected her music and said, "I don't know your resume, I never found you funny, I never found you entertaining, I never found you smart," she told him. "I just found you annoying." To me, it was like, who are you? You don't have enough of a resume to make those comments. Now this didn't really matter though, because later Peter tweeted that Nicki's boyfriend threatened him and that he still stands by his comments, claiming that Nicki overreacted. She's had a lot of good moments, Starships ain't one of them, and it represents the opposite of real hip-hop, he explained.
Ryan Gosling. Someone's clearly been taking lessons from a sassy child, because that's the vibe that Ryan Gosling was sending off in waves while being interviewed alongside his The Nice Guys co-star Russell Crowe on Stephen Colbert's Late Night Show. In 2016, during their segment, Ryan stormed off stage after Crowe implied that he actually didn't need him for the interview, trashing Colbert's table before storming away with the house band and then joining the audience, basically interrupting the whole show. Everyone in the audience had this very shocked look on their face, wasn't quite sure if it was staged or not, but later they would go on to say that it was a bit for the show, but many people speculated that that was just their cover-up story and Ryan was being a diva. Number 2, Piers Morgan. Arguably one of the most notorious on-air exits in television history occurred in 2021 when presenter Piers Morgan abruptly left the set of Good Morning Britain. This happened after the weather presenter Alex Beresford confronted him regarding remarks he had made about Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah Winfrey during the previous day's broadcast. Alex said, "And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to, but yet you continue to trash her." This prompted Piers to stand up and exit the studio, which would ultimately mark his final appearance on the show. And later that day, it was revealed that he would be departing immediately amidst the controversy surrounding his remarks about the Duchess. Now, as he was storming off, he said, "Okay, I'm done with this. Sorry, no, can't do this. I'm off to spend more time with my opinions." Now, just a couple hours later after that incident, ITV released a statement saying Piers Morgan has decided now is the best time to leave Good Morning Britain. ITV has accepted this decision and has nothing further to add. Number 3, the Bee Gees. In 1997, during their appearance on Clive Anderson's All Talk, the Bee Gees found themselves at the receiving end of the host's jokes about their music. Within mere seconds of commencing the interview, Clive likened the group's distinctive high falsetto to Mickey Mouse and humorously suggested that the Bee Gees renowned hitmakers, were only one letter shy of being hit writers. The breaking point for Barry Gibb and his brothers, Robin and Maurice, came when the host actually forgot their hit records, prompting them to get up and abruptly leave the show. Number 4, Crispin Glover. Now, Charlie's Angels actor Crispin Glover's unforgettable appearance on Late Show with David Letterman in 1987 secured its place as one of the most notorious moments in the genre's history. Crispin had previously garnered attention for his captivating performances in the 1984 film Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, also followed by his role as George McFly in Back to the Future, one of my favorites. Now, his scheduled guest spot on Late Night with David Letterman was intended to promote his latest film. However, instead of the expected promotional interview, the actor, who was only 23 at the time, delivered a very perplexing and bewildering segment that lacked a discernible purpose or direction. The catastrophic segment ended with David declaring, "I'm gonna go check on the top 10," before walking off the stage and leaving Crispin briefly alone before the show just basically cut to commercial. Number 5, Joan Rivers. In 2014, the late Joan Rivers made headlines when she dramatically exited a CNN interview. CNN host Frederica Whitfield was accusing Joan of being mean in some of her harsh fashion critiques, which appeared to ruffle the comedian's feathers. Frederica continued to challenge Joan as she said, "You're not really worried about feelings getting hurt," to which the showbiz personality replied, "Well, not when it's about dresses. It's not about them. It's about the clothing." But before abruptly walking out of her interview, Joan yelled, "Stop it with the 'you're mean' and 'you're that' and 'you're this.' You are not the one to interview a person who does humor. Sorry." She basically stormed off and left the interviewer shocked and basically in disbelief. Number 6, Chris Christie. Now, comedian Jimmy Fallon couldn't resist slipping in a wisecrack about former Governor Chris Christie's weight when the Republican presidential candidate attempted to recount a story involving ice cream. This incident unfolded during Christie's appearance in 2015 on The Tonight Show. Now, Christie was sharing an anecdote about a recent visit to New Hampshire where he and Florida Senator Marco Rubio had stayed with Utah Senator Mitt Romney. Now, during their stay, Christie recounted how they all went on a boat ride with their respective families, and upon returning to the dock, Mitt suggested that they all indulge in some ice cream. Christie described his reaction to the ice cream offer as all right, but Jimmy, making a playful reference to Christie's weight, suggested that his response might have been a tad more enthusiastic. Now, Christie caught on to the joke and, in kind of good humor, momentarily walked off the stage before returning with a comeback of his own. Number 7, Paris Hilton. When ABC interviewer Dan Harris asked Paris Hilton if she was worried about her, moment having passed, she laughed uncomfortably, then basically left. She got annoyed and walked out of the interview after he asked her about being past her prime and kind of living in the shadow of former friend Kim Kardashian. Now, in the clip, Harris repeatedly asks her if she's worried that, time has passed, she's not really popular anymore, and actually points out the low ratings on her Oxygen reality show, The World According to Paris. Now, Hilton answered, "I've been doing this for 15 years now, so it's been a long time. So just like any other business person or someone in the industry, it's always important to reinvent yourself and come up with new projects." After several basically clipped, quick no responses, she basically sighs, looks off camera, and just walks out and doesn't return. Number 8, Naomi Campbell. During an interview with ABC News in 2010, supermodel Naomi Campbell abruptly left when a discussion veered towards a blood diamond she was rumored to have received from former Liberian dictator Charles Taylor, who was facing war crimes charges at the time. She said, "I didn't receive a diamond, and I'm not going to speak about that." As the interviewer persisted in questioning Naomi about the issue, the fashion icon rose from her seat and departed, accidentally causing a camera to even topple over in the process. Later in the same year, Naomi acknowledged that she had received the diamond while providing testimony during the trial of the former leader. Number 9, Prince. Prince was interviewed on The View in 2010, but he didn't actually stay for long, and for years since, fans have wondered how he actually really felt about the interview. Prince joked about being on the morning show and said, "These are strange hours for rock stars." He mentioned that there was a wonderful series of concerts that he was doing there, as he was at the time playing at Madison Square Garden. Now, while The View's co-hosts were all thrilled to have Prince there, since he was, of course, an icon, Sherry Shepherd was definitely the most excited. And since she was sitting right next to Prince at the famous View table, she looked super nervous. Right away, Shepherd said, "Hey Prince, could you just say, 'Sherry, I love you'?" He did, and they hugged, and that seemed like a very sweet moment, but then things got incredibly awkward. Sherry then said to Prince, "You don't understand, Prince. I've wanted to make love to you for my entire life." Prince felt extremely uncomfortable. His eyes went really wide. He kind of comically backed away away from the host, but he actually left the set for good. He basically said, girl, get somebody else to do it. Number 10, last but not least on my list is Rita Ora. Now, Rita Ora walked out of an AP interview after the reporter asked her about her ex-boyfriend and musical collaborator Calvin Harris. The interviewer said, there's been a lot of rumors about Calvin Harris not releasing some of your stuff. Ora shut it down. She said, thank you, bye-bye. And she replied saying that while walking away. Now, it's alleged that when she split with Calvin Harris, there were rumors that she cheated on him, that he refused to allow the album to be released because he produced it, basically completely sabotaging her career and ruining all of the momentum she had made at that time, which is why the interviewer asked her that question in the first place.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
An interview between Justin Bieber and Diddy has recently resurfaced, and it's taking the internet by storm. Diddy wanted the younger star to keep quiet about whatever was happening at their hangouts, and after all the recent allegations against Diddy Combs, people are voicing their concerns. Popular music artist Sean Diddy Combs, responsible for songs like I'll Be Missing You and I Need a Girl, was recently arrested, and new details about the serious situation are coming out daily. It started with the November 2023 lawsuit from one of his ex-partners, and it continued with multiple other individuals coming forward to share their stories of Diddy's misconduct, and the latest development is a 2011 Jimmy Kimmel live interview resurfacing. Kimmel is interviewing Combs and a young Justin Bieber. At this point in time, Bieber was quite close to Combs, it seems, good friends. Combs even referred to Bieber as a little brother throughout the interview. Still, the age difference between the two is staggering, about 24 years. So of course, Kimmel questioned how this duo even came to be, asking if the pair were possibly working together, to which Diddy denied, instead sharing that the two became friends in a strange way.
I mean, I think that we've become friends in a strange way, you know?
Like Robin Big.
No real elaboration on that statement. Diddy just kind of continues on, saying that Bieber is like a little brother to a lot of people in the music industry. He would call up Diddy and presumably others in the industry for advice when needed, and then his next statements just start feeling a little bit icky with everything the public now knows about him. Diddy starts talking about how himself and others in the strong family that is the record industry want to keep their arms around Justin and protect him because he is such a nice person.
And he's somebody that, you know, we definitely have our arms around and we want to protect him.
Back in 2011, when this interview came out, these statements raised no red flags as far as the public knew. Diddy was a great guy, a big help to a rising star, and a music icon. In fact, people clapped for him in the interview because, well, these are nice things to say about a 16-year-old Bieber. However, in 2024, with everything we now know about Combs and his behind-the-scenes lifestyle, his comments are way more off-putting and uncomfortable. Justin appears to be pretty at ease during the interview, joking around with Combs and Kimmel. When Kimmel plays off the little brother comments by suggesting Combs buy Bieber a car like he did his actual son, Bieber is quick to play along, saying, he got me a Lamborghini, I haven't gotten it yet though. This is somehow the moment that shifted the conversation into questionable territory. Kimmel asks when the car is coming, to which Diddy responds that Bieber had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and this is where it gets weird in 2024, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. Everything ain't for everybody. This is met with lots of laughter from the audience because who would have ever thought that anything shady could be going on behind the scenes with this guy? This entire conversation and interaction is likely referring to the 48 hours Diddy and Justin had spent together around this time. That's right, a young Justin Bieber was left in Combs' care for a full 48 hours. Now, how did that even happen? Well, there is an explanation out there. Nowadays, musicians' YouTubes are more for uploading music videos or some behind the scenes content, but 15 years ago, vlogs were super common and uploaded pretty frequently by big stars, including Bieber. He did in fact shoot a quick 2-minute video with Diddy, and it is in fact still up on Justin Bieber's YouTube channel today. So let's get into it. The video starts out with Diddy and Bieber looking at a luxury car, which is, you guessed it, a Lamborghini, just like they were talking about in the Kimmel interview. In the vlog, Diddy is shown telling Justin that when he turns 16 to come back down to use the car, even saying the keys would be his. And that makes some of those Kimmel comments make a lot more sense. But how did Bieber even end up in a position to be hanging out with Diddy anyways? The caption of the vlog explains that, saying that Justin had produced a song for Combs that he wanted to show him, and the Beliebers got his attention and made it happen. As the mini vlog continues, Combs and Bieber start discussing what they're gonna do. I mean, Combs is almost 40 and Bieber hasn't hit 16 yet, so really, what are they gonna do? Combs' answer to that question is, where are we hanging out and what we doing we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose. It's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
And I think collectively we're all hoping it was paintball and music producing, but still, that is a very concerning statement from Combs. Combs continues on sharing that he had custody of Bieber for the 48 hours he was with him, and then shared how he had legal guardianship of Usher when he produced his first album. The short video finishes with Diddy promising that him and the young star were going to go full crazy. Bieber suggested they start the 48 hours by going to get some girls, to which Diddy responded, "Man after my heart."
He's with me, so and we gonna go full crazy.
All in all, this video could not have aged worse. It's surprising that the video is even still up on Justin's channel, and even more surprising, the comment section is still active. Many users are commenting their concerns over the contents of the conversation. One user bringing up the fact that despite this video being up almost 14 years, no one's questioned it till now. We don't know exactly what happened during those 48 hours, however, something weird must have went down because it seems Justin stopped contacting Combs afterward. Diddy visited Bieber in studio a little while after the 48 hours, and Justin looked noticeably less at ease than he had in that first vlog together. Diddy also seemed to be getting on Justin's case for not contacting him or staying in touch as much, which is an odd thing to be requesting from someone almost 24 years your junior. Diddy is still getting on the young star's case, suggesting that because he's a big deal now, selling out arenas and everything, that's why he stopped calling and that's why they stopped hanging out.
Selling out arenas and everything, starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Comments the baby singer has made as he gets older have also raised some red flags about what he has gone through in the industry. Comments about how he wants to protect younger artists and getting emotional in interviews.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn. And
it's no secret that Justin has had a rough go in the music industry and has publicly coped with his trauma in unglamorous ways. As more and more information comes out about those he was surrounded with at the time, people are creating more and more theories that make his outbursts make sense. However, it seems Bieber is looking to put all the harder events of his upbringing behind him. An insider close to the singer has shared that amongst all this, he just wants to focus on being a great dad and husband. Bieber welcomed his first child with Hailey Bieber in August after announcing the pregnancy back in May. His fans and the general public do wish for the best for the singer. The same cannot be said though for Sean Diddy Combs, of course, and as the charges and evidence continue to pile up against him, he loses public favor with every passing day. Recently, it's come out that one of his youngest victims wasn't even Justin's age when he first met Combs. As it stands, Combs is facing a minimum of 15 years and a max of a life sentence. Combs has continued to deny that he ever harmed anyone.
Recently, a journalist has stepped forward to talk about how uncomfortable they were interviewing Blake Lively in 2016. Norwegian interviewer Christy Flaw, who goes by Kirsty, has uploaded her 2016 interview with Blake that was so uncomfortable it made her want to quit her journalism career. Kirsty posted a video simply called "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job" to her popular YouTube channel earlier this week, and viewers have been left horrified by the 4-minute long footage. In the clip, Blake is promoting the movie Cafe Society and is joined by her co-star Parker Posey. Now, this movie came out in July 2016, and the interview would have taken place around the same time. Now, Blake had actually announced her pregnancy at the Met Gala that May, but appears to take offense when Kirsty starts the interview by congratulating her on her little bump. "Congrats on your little bump," Blake mockingly says back to Kirsty, who visibly isn't pregnant. And also, one of the worst things we've now found out is that Kirsty is actually infertile, so this comment hurt her even more. Appearing to purposely exclude Kirsty from the conversation, Blake and Parker seem to almost ignore her, and Blake seemingly actively avoids to make eye contact with the reporter, and even when she does look away from Parker, she's looking off camera rather than at Kirsty. Once Kirsty's interview time is up, both Blake and Parker appear to roll their eyes and pull a face as she leaves. Now, it was extremely rude and horrible, and people in the comments called them out. Now, in 2013, Jesse Eisenberg did an interview with Romina Puga promoting his new film, Now You See Me. The interview started out rough, but it seemed like Jesse and Romina were both being sarcastic and dry to each other on purpose. Now, this included Jesse insulting her, saying he wouldn't want to find her in a crowd, and that she was the carrot top of interviewers. It seemed like the two were in on it, but afterwards, Romina made a blog post saying, "So I was just humiliated by Jesse Eisenberg. When the 5-minute interview, more like self-esteem butchering, were finally over, I went behind a curtain to wait for the memory cards from the interview. I peeked around the curtain to ask Jesse about his neighborhood in New York. He lived a few blocks from where I used to live, and he immediately says, 'You're still here.'" Now, Jesse was widely slammed on social media for the interview, in which he came across as arrogant and was seen mocking the journalist's questions. Talking to NME, Jesse said he had different memories of the interview, as he found it to be quite fun. "I remember she was laughing. Even after she left, I said to the people in the room, 'What a relief.' Like, that was the most funny, interesting interview I'd had all day. She said I had made her upset. It was like the exact opposite of what my experience was, and I didn't know the appropriate way to handle something that's completely mischaracterized," he added. Now, people said there are people who found the interview quite funny, saying, "Listen, I would never want to upset someone, and if I did upset her, obviously I would have acknowledged that," he added. While walking the red carpet at the 2023 Oscars, Hugh Grant was quickly called out online after an interview with Ashley Graham on ABC's Academy Awards pre-show. When asked by the model what his favorite part of the awards ceremony was, he responded, "It's fascinated, the whole humanity is here, it's Vanity Fair." Now, things only got more awkward as Hugh began unenthusiastically responding with short answers, such as saying he wasn't rooting for any nominees in particular, and stating that he couldn't remember the name of the tailor who worked on his suit. Now, the interview concluded with Ashley asking him about appearing in one of the night's nominated films, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, in which he made a cameo as the partner of Daniel Craig's detective character. "Well, I'm barely in it," he stated. "I'm in it for about 3 seconds." Now, on top of that, when asked if he had fun shooting the Knives Out sequel, he simply responded with, "Almost." Now, Twitter went crazy calling out his behavior, as it was just a plain awkward exchange. Now, reflecting on the situation a few months later, Ashley told the Sunday Times, "I could tell he didn't want to be there, that was obvious. Before, we were chatting, he was very pleasant, then we started rolling and he was like, 'I don't want to be here,' and I was like, 'Okay, work with me, I get it, but like, work with me.' I was trying my hardest to be my nice, upbeat self, and he gave me what he had," she said. In 2016, Vin Diesel derailed his interview with YouTuber Carol Maria by trying to flirt with her and insisting that she was too beautiful and sexy for him to continue, making her visibly uncomfortable. Now, in the video's intro, Carol addressed the situation, saying, "He began to hit on me in the middle of the interview, saying that I was pretty, and he interrupted the interview 3 times to talk about it. I was laughing, completely uncomfortable. I was not sure what to do," she said. "I just laughed because it was a very delicate situation. I did not like it. At the time, I did not know how to react, but you will see that I was uncomfortable. It was not nice that he interrupted my work." Now, in the video, Vin Diesel is seen saying, "Tell me your story, let's get out of here, let's go have lunch. My God, I love her." Now, Carol attempted to get things back on track, only for Diesel to derail the interview once again over their shared love of the game Dungeons & Dragons. "Guys, really, look how beautiful she is," he said. "You guys think this is a joke? How am I supposed to sit here while I'm looking at such beauty? She's so beautiful. I'm in love with the interviewer." Yeah, that's definitely not the way to talk to an interviewer. I mean, she was just trying to do her job. Plus, he was married and had children at the time of this interview. It's just gross. Reporter Ali Fedotowsky was asked by her co-host Roxy Manning whether she had bad experiences interviewing celebrities on the red carpet. Ali then said, "Sorry, Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm going to Taylor Swift you right now." She then proceeded to say that Jake showed up for the red carpet. "My first red carpet for E! News, he walks up, I'm shaking in my heels. I say to him, 'Hi Jake, who do you bring tonight? Like for a date, like who's your date tonight?' He goes, 'Bye bye,' and walked away from me." Ali then shared that she started crying, fearing fearing that she was going to lose her job after failing to get answers from the actor. However, she then witnessed Jake give another interviewer the same treatment. There was an interviewer next to me and her question to him was, "So if you don't get an Oscar for this film, those tattoos should," because he was all tatted up for his film, and he goes, "Bye," and walks away because he is a serious actor, Ali recalled. Now, Ali worked for the entertainment news company from 2013 to 2015, and she called the position her least favorite job she ever had. She added, "It was just not for me, it really ate away at my self-confidence," and she also noted that she doesn't have patience for stars who are rude to interviewers. "I've walked so many red carpets because of The Bachelorette and done countless interviews, and I know how easy it is to be nice," she said. But hey, at least he wasn't just rude to her, but still, that's a rude thing to do, Jake. Now, Joaquin Phoenix's film Joker did amazing, as it was praised by pretty much everyone, but it appears that he got tired of talking about it. Now, Joaquin took home the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Drama for Joker, but do not ask him about it. Now, after his win, Phoenix claimed that he was tricked into entering the press room, and he was annoyed at journalists for asking him questions. When asked about his process for transforming into the Joker, Phoenix snapped, "Isn't this old news? I think I've talked about this for 6 months. I mean, right? I feel like I've answered these questions. You want to hear a different version of it? I can try to change it slightly, or what should I do? It was a long process, and there's so many things I just can't remember right now, but I feel like I already answered this question 6 months ago, but thanks for still asking." Then when asked about a potential Joker sequel, he got similarly annoyed, saying, "What do you mean about the possibility of a sequel? Why? I don't care who's saying that. That's awesome and I love whoever says it. I don't think that I've ever done too many predictable things. So if that came up, it's not because we're following some rule book, it's because we feel inspired again to explore the character more thoroughly. That would be the only reason for me to do it. So that's all I can say about that." Now, we all know that they did make a sequel, but him responding to these questions like that was just awkward. And in 2017, Selena Gomez was announced to receive the Billboard Music Award for Woman of the Year. Now, she received it after she told the world about her kidney transplant, and this was a huge award for her, and it should have been made all about. Starting off, we obviously have to talk about Harry and Meghan. Now, Oprah with Meghan and Harry was a 2021 television special hosted by Oprah Winfrey that featured an interview between Oprah, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry. And the interview came the year after Prince Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step down as working members of the British royal family in January 2020. Now, it's kind of ironic that they did this interview because Meghan and Harry claimed that one of the reasons why they were stepping down from the royal family was because they wanted their privacy. Now, during this interview, the couple revealed a lot of information. Ahead of the interview, a clip was released of Oprah asking Meghan whether she was silent or silenced during her time as a working royal. Now, after Harry and Meghan took their relationship public, she said she was given a very clear directive from the moment the world knew Harry and I were dating to always say no comment. Now, Meghan also opened up about how she had dark thoughts while being a royal and how she wanted to hurt herself. She also said that she never got the proper mental health care from the palace that she needed. A reading encouraging segment of her talk show that made any selection a bestseller. Now, in September 2005, she picked the book A Million Little Pieces, a memoir by James Frey, about his years-long struggle with addiction. James then actually appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to discuss the work that she called gut-wrenching. But in January 2006, the Smoking Gun did an investigation and they discovered that James had made up or exaggerated certain parts in his so-called memoir. Now, weeks after the story broke, he returned to the Oprah Show to face angry viewers and a livid Oprah. "I feel duped," she said. "But more importantly, I feel like you betrayed millions of readers," she added, also asking him why he felt the need to lie. Now, he stammered and tried in vain to make excuses, arguing that he altered a lot of the details, but that the overall plot of the memoir was true, to which the studio audience responded with boos, gasps, and groans. Now, this cringeworthy interview was so controversial, Oprah even later apologized to him for not treating him with the empathy she reserved for other guests, regardless of the mistakes they'd made. Now, this whole thing was honestly just so messy. Now we have Tom Cruise's crazy interview. Tom made an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2005 to promote his remake of The War of the Worlds. Now, no one really focused on the movie though, as it was more about Tom's behavior. When the topic changed to who Tom was dating, which was Katie Holmes by the way, Tom couldn't contain his excitement. At different times during the interview, he jumps out of his seat, throws his arms in the air, pumps his fists, falls to his knee, and slaps the ground, squirms, and even tries to walk it all off. Now, the studio audience absolutely loved this. "Something happened to you," a delighted Oprah exclaimed at one point. "I'm in love," Tom explains. And he also jumped on her couch during this interview. In total, he jumped on the couch twice to show his excitement. Now, critics of the interview though weren't so sure, with the Ringer saying it rocked Hollywood and became a turning point for how we discuss and understand celebrities, and not in a good way. Others thought this interview was cute though. It was a new side of Tom that we had never really seen before. Then there was the interview with Elizabeth Taylor in February 1988. Now, back in the day, Elizabeth was a huge star, but at this time she had washed up a little bit, as she appeared in the occasional TV show or miniseries, but she still dominated tabloids and celebrity magazines because of her love life. Now, this included 7 marriages to 6 men at that point. And yes, she married, then divorced, then married and divorced the same man over again. The New Yorker reported that when Oprah landed an interview with Elizabeth, it was the first major celebrity sit-down for the Oprah Winfrey Show, and it was a big deal. There was one rule though that Oprah had to follow during this interview: do not ask Elizabeth about her love life at all. But Oprah decided to ignore this and asked Elizabeth about her relationships. Elizabeth hit back though, saying it was none of your business, and gave Oprah a cold stare. Now, this put Elizabeth off, and during the rest of the interview she wasn't as nice. According to Oprah, after that her responses were short and terse, making for bad, boring, and hostile television. At one point, Oprah tried to cut the tension by quipping, "You're so revealing. You just tell everything. I declare you've got to stop talking so much, Miss Taylor." Now, I can see what she was doing here, as she was trying to bring the mood up, but it didn't work and just made things worse. Cindy Crawford and Elite Model Management founder John Casablancas were interviewed on Oprah's show in 1986. During the segment though, Oprah had the young model stand up so the audience could see her body, which honestly just feels extremely weird. Now, reflecting on the encounter 37 years later on Apple TV's The Supermodels, Cindy said, "I was like the chattel or a child, be seen and not heard. When you look at it through today's eyes, Oprah's like, stand up and show me your body, show us why you're worthy of being here," she said. In the moment, I didn't recognize it, and watching it back, I was like, oh my gosh, that was not so okay, really, especially from Oprah. And yeah, she's right, that was not okay at all. Now, in the spring of 1996, according to CBS News, the United Kingdom experienced an outbreak of mad cow disease. Now, per the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat infected beef, they can contract a deadly variant. Now, during the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lehman. The former cattle rancher had adopted a vegetarian lifestyle and went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Conscious Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cow to Americans. Now, he pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cow infected cattle to other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that such practices were common in the US. Now, Oprah was left stunned by this. "It has just stopped me cold from eating another burger," she said. Now, with Oprah's influence, right after the episode aired, beef prices plummeted for almost 2 weeks, hitting a 10-year low. As a result, a group of Texas cattle ranchers sued Oprah for $10.3 million, alleging that her remarks caused undue harm to the entire beef industry. One Texas rancher, Paul Engler, lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action libel lawsuit against Oprah and her show's producers for besmirching American beef. But after a 6-week trial in Texas, Oprah won.
I have different personalities, you know what I'm saying? Nobody knows who's coming downstairs in the morning.
Oprah Winfrey has been tied to so many awful people, and the things that she's done throughout the years have only been in service to certain people.
That was a crazy one. What am I?
What am I doing?
With all this new alarming news of Diddy coming out, people are looking back at his old interviews, and one he did with Oprah where he refused to answer a question is concerning to say the least. Now, Diddy has gone by many different names. His legal name is Sean Combs. He then changed his middle name to Love at one point. He's gone by Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, and Diddy. Why all these names? It's honestly so confusing, but it seems like Diddy will never share why. Now, in 1996, under the name Puff Daddy, he released his first commercial vocal work as a rapper. He then changed his stage name from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy in 2001, and on August 16, 2005, he announced on Today that he was altering his stage name yet again. He'd be calling himself Diddy. He then said fans did not know how to address him, which led to confusion. He changed his name again on November 5th, 2017, when he announced that he'd be going by the name Love, stating, "My new name is Love, aka Brother Love." 2 days later, he told the press he had been joking, but on January 3rd, 2018, he announced on Jimmy Kimmel Live that he had changed his mind again and would be using the new name after all. Now, the change became official in 2022. Many people have been confused by what to call him and why he's had all these different names that constantly change. Now, in 2006, while making an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Oprah tried to get to the bottom of his stage names, why he changed them, and what they meant. Diddy, though, was not going to give up that information. Diddy said, "It's a nickname somebody gave me. I've never told anyone that, but I know you get people to tell you everything, Oprah. But I can't look you in the eye and explain that one." Now, he shoved the question aside and said, "It's just a silly name." It was made pretty clear here that he didn't want to share the deeper meaning and significance of his stage name. Now, what is strange is that Oprah did not probe him anymore and just accepted that she wouldn't get an answer. Diddy then said, "I'll answer every other question except that one." Now, in his other interviews, he's opened up about his many nicknames. He told Jet magazine in 1998 that he had a temper when he was younger, and his friends started calling him Puffy. While speaking with CNN, he shared, "I've had different name changes because I only just grew up in a neighborhood where everyone had nicknames. My first nickname was Puffy," and he said he was given the nickname Puff as a child because he would huff and puff when he was angry. Now, it seems like his name will remain just one more secret that Diddy keeps from the world. Now, I don't know why he's making it such a big deal though. It honestly makes him even more suspicious. I mean, why wouldn't he want to share it unless it was something bad, right? And of course, this isn't the first weird interview that Diddy has had. In 1999, he did an interview with Entertainment Tonight where he practically told us he was up to no good. He said, "They won't even give me a permit for the parties no more, but we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my parties, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. Whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated." He added about the parties. "It's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It's cool. It doesn't make me feel any way special. It doesn't make me feel like a bigger person. It just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party." Then there's his multiple Ellen interviews. Now, I feel like every time he was there, he said something that was a red flag. In 2009, Diddy came under fire for lending his home to Chris Brown and Rihanna after their infamous fight. Ellen invited the mogul on her show to explain his actions as she found them irresponsible due to the risk of sending the wrong message to young fans. Now, Diddy immediately took a defensive stance following Ellen's remarks, saying, "Because I know both of them and it's my house, and I'm allowed to give my house to anyone I want to. I'm the type of person who doesn't cast judgment on somebody, so if friends ask me for a favor, then I'ma be there for a favor, as long as I know the energy of the favor is positive." Now, in between his answers to Ellen, Diddy is seen on camera visibly upset and scowling at the audience. After the segment though, Ellen and Diddy decide to break into a dance number, and it's honestly just so weird. Now, the fact that Diddy was defending the situation with Chris and Rihanna isn't that surprising considering everything he did to his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Him and Cassie dated on and off for 10 years and broke up officially in 2018. In November 2023 though, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy for mistreating her and taking advantage of her during their relationship. Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations, he said at the time. But after the case was settled less than 48 hours after it was filed, I may add. His attorney put out another statement saying, "Just so we're clear, a decision to settle a lawsuit, especially in 2023, is in no way an admission of wrongdoing," he said. Mr. Combs' decision to settle the lawsuit does not in any way undermine his flat-out denial of the claims. He is happy they got to a mutual settlement and wishes Miss Ventura the best. So yeah, Diddy claimed he was innocent and that Cassie was lying, but earlier this year, hotel footage leaked of an incident Cassie described in the lawsuit. It was proof that she was telling the truth and that Diddy really was a monster. Now, after this was leaked, Diddy made an apology, but was he really remorseful? People don't think so. He was just sorry that he got caught. Now, honestly, the CCTV footage was extremely disturbing, and it showed us that there was something seriously wrong with the star. Now, I can't believe that Cassie had to go through so much mistreatment. It's disgusting what he did to her, and I'm glad he's in jail. Then, in another interview that's been raising some eyebrows is from 2012, when Tour interviewed Diddy for Feuds on the Road, discussing the entertainer's career thus far. Now, as the interview closes, Tour asks Diddy, "Do you think that people really know you?" To which Diddy dramatically responds, "Nah, people don't really know me, and that's by design." Tours then becomes curious and asks, "So who is this person, the Sean Combs we don't know?" Diddy's consistently maintained smile then disappeared before he offered an answer with a deadpan look, "We have yet to find out. You have to come along for the ride. That's the whole part of the journey. That's the whole part of entertainment. You don't rock with a brother for 20 years and stop. Now you gotta see this movie all the way through, baby." Yeah, so that just really proves that Diddy was able to trick the public into thinking that he was a great person while he knowingly did horrible things behind the scenes. Now, Diddy finally got arrested in September though for his involvement in a crime ring that dates back to 20 years ago. Since he's been locked up, more details about the case have been leaked, and hundreds of victims have come forward with lawsuits against the star. Again, Diddy is denying everything, but he did the same thing with Cassie, and it turns out that she was telling the truth, so I have a hard time believing that he's truly innocent in all of this. Does Ashton Kutcher have anything to do with Diddy's crime ring? Maybe, as it appears that the pair have been friends for decades and have been seen out and about together, with Ashton attending Diddy's infamous parties. Now, these parties are in which the police believe crimes were happening, but if Ashton was a part of this, was he forced to participate by Diddy? I mean, Diddy has made threats to him in the past. Now, Diddy and Ashton met in the early 2000s as they both did work for MTV. Ashton was on the show Punk'd, which was a reality show where he would secretly prank celebrities and catch their reactions on camera. Diddy, though, was not a fan of this. Ashton and the crew were throwing out names of celebrities who they thought would be good to prank, and Diddy's name came up. But somehow, Diddy was made aware of this and confronted Ashton, telling him not to prank him. Later, in a joint interview in 2018 with James Corden, Diddy and Ashton spoke about what happened. Diddy said, "I gave Ashton a call one day and said, 'I heard you're going to punk me, and I just don't think that's a good idea. If you do that, that will not end well for you, but I think we should work out a deal.' Then their friendship bloomed." I'm not sure though, with Diddy starting off with a threat like that, I don't think he'd want to be friends. Also, what kind of deal was Diddy talking about? With everything we know now about the rapper, that is just suspicious. Now, later in the conversation, Corden asks what happens on the other side of that velvet rope, what's going on inside that party. Diddy then laughs and said, "This was before social media, so things were a little bit more private. It was a gorgeous time to grow up." And yeah, it was good for him, because no one was able to document his crimes and post them everywhere or expose and cancel him for all of the horrible things that he did. Later on in the interview, he named his 30th birthday party as his best party, saying that Beyonce and Donald Trump were in attendance. He then added that he was no longer in contact with the then president. "I just tried to lead by example," he said. "It's a wake-up call to take accountability for the future of America and the future of the world." Corden then said, "I don't want to speak out of turn, but are we looking at a Diddy Kutcher 2020 ticket here?" Diddy laughed at the idea, saying, "I don't think it would be in the country's best interest to have me in charge," and Yeah, it wouldn't be. And with Ashton's ties to Diddy, he wouldn't be good in charge either. Now, this isn't the only interview that's raised some eyebrows about the pair. In 2019, Ashton was a guest on the YouTube show Hot Ones, where he was asked about his friendship with Diddy. The host asked Ashton what his favorite Diddy party moment was, and Ashton laughed and said, "I've got a lot I can't tell." He sat thinking and said, "Can't tell that one either. Diddy party stories, man, that was some weird memory lane thing." Now, it is very strange that he dodged this question, and what was so bad about the memories that did pop up in his mind? Did he know that bad things were happening at Diddy's parties, and was he a part of the problem? People who have watched back this interview are shocked and have become even more suspicious of Ashton. Now, if you somehow didn't know, Diddy was arrested in September for running a crime ring. He's been denied bail multiple times as he's a flight risk, but he's been in trouble with the law before his arrest. He had at least 4 lawsuits filed against him, like from his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura or music producer Rodney Jones. Then in March, 2 of Diddy's homes were raided, and since he's been arrested, more and more cases have been brought against him. His trial is set for May 2025, but that might change depending on how many more people come forward about the star. It's been said from sources that Ashton is actually scared of what Diddy could say and that he might try to drag the actor down. An insider source revealed to Daily Mail that Ashton absolutely regrets his friendship with Diddy considering what has happened. He feels lied to, betrayed, taken for granted, and manipulated. They continue by saying everyone who is close to Diddy fears the possibility of Diddy making up false allegations to clear his own name. Although Kutcher is frightened by the prospect of being involved in the case, he is also prepared to completely cooperate with the authorities because he has nothing to hide. But I don't know. I feel like a non-guilty person isn't worried about being framed for being taken down for something that's complete lies. I think Ashton is definitely hiding something and is more involved than we think, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out. But on the other hand, last week a source told TMZ that Ashton has nothing to worry about. A source alleged to the media outlet, "This narrative has got to stop. Ashton has nothing to do with this, zero involvement, zero knowledge of Combs' activities." The source added, Ashton, like everyone else in Hollywood, attended a Diddy party 20 years ago. So maybe this will finally put an end to all the Ashton speculation. As we all know though, Ashton does not have the best track record when it comes to choosing friends. Like he and his wife Mila Kunis's longtime friend and co-star Danny Matterson. The 3 of them acted together on the show That 70s Show, and on June 17, 2020, Danny was charged with 3 crimes, and on January 21, 2021, he pleaded not guilty. Later though, he was found guilty, and for his sentencing, Ashton and Mila submitted character letters to the judge to hopefully reduce his sentencing. These letters were then leaked to the public, and it made a lot of people angry that they were defending him. Ashton wrote that Danny was an excellent role model and was a dedicated and loyal husband. I hope that my testament to his character is taken into consideration in sentencing. I do not believe he is an ongoing harm to society, and having his daughter raised without a father would be an injustice in and of itself. As a friend, Danny has been nothing but a positive influence on me, Ashton wrote. Over a 25-year relationship, I don't ever recall him lying to me. He's taught me about being direct and confronting issues in life and relationships head on, resolving them and moving forward. Now, this being leaked then prompted the couple to apologize online. In the video, Ashton said he and his wife wrote the letters after Danny's family asked them to characterize the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that into full consideration relative to the sentencing. Though the pair acknowledged that they were aware of the pain their letters had caused. They were intended for the judge to read, Ashton said, and not to undermine the testimony of the victims or re-traumatize them in any way. We would never want to do that, and we're sorry if that has taken place. And let me just say, a lot of people actually didn't forgive them. The backlash was so bad that Ashton actually stepped down as chairman for the company Thorn. His decision to step down was rooted in the recognition of recent events, the organization said in a statement. Ashton went on to say, after my wife and I spent several days of listening, personal reflection, learning, and conversations with survivors and the employees and the leadership at Thorn, I have determined the responsible thing for me to do is to resign as chairman of the board effective immediately, Ashton said in a letter. It seems like with everything that's happened with Danny and Diddy, Ashton doesn't surround himself with the best people. So what does that make him? Is he really as good as he claims he is? All I gotta say is I never expected to to witness the downfall of Ashton Kutcher. Now, when it comes to the Diddy case, we'll just have to wait and see what happens and how involved Ashton really is.
Diddy's really always been very nice to me.
He's a gentleman, isn't he? He's a lovely gentleman.
He would be fun to be in the prom group.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We gonna keep on having fun.
I'm an entertainer. I entertain people no matter what time of day, you know, whether you like it or not.
What's your prediction on what's gonna happen with the Diddy situation?
What else haven't we seen?
It's a whole nation.
You're gonna hear about my parties. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things.
Taylor Swift is arguably one of the most famous people in the world right now, and in a resurfaced interview, she praises the now disgraced music mogul Diddy. But does she still feel that way right now? Well, let's see what she said. A resurfaced video from 2011 shows Taylor playing a celebrity quiz game during an appearance on The Rachel Ray Show when she was just 21 years old. Rachel asked her a series of rapid-fire celebrity questions, and Taylor responded by holding up a photo of the celebrity she would choose. Now, celebrities included Diddy, Madonna, and J-Lo. Now, when asked who she would take to prom, Taylor responded, "It would be a group, and it would be a really fun group." "Boy, you're going on a freaky prom date," Rachel said, and Taylor then held up pictures of who would be in the group. This included Diddy, Katy Perry, Jennifer Lopez, Justin Timberlake, and Sheryl Crow, which is honestly such an interesting choice. "Why that spectacular array of people?" Rachel asked, and Taylor responded by saying, "Because all these different reasons. Well, Katy would be so much fun. She's just like crazy fun, like spontaneous. Diddy's always been very nice to me," adding, "He would be fun in the prom group. He's a gentleman, isn't he? He's a lovely gentleman." Rachel then chimed in, and Taylor agreed. Now, these comments resurfaced and made headlines after the clip was shared in a since deleted TikTok video, and several fans claimed the clip didn't age well. "As a millennial, we looked up to those people. We didn't know what was really going on. This is like fearless speak now Taylor. She's like 19 to 21 here," one person commented. "Back when we were so naive," a second added, while a third wrote, "This aged like milk." Now, Taylor has been seen with Diddy in passing, like how they took a photo together at the 2023 VMAs, but she hasn't been attached to any of his parties or hanging out with him outside of award shows. It just seems like bad timing that she said this in the past, considering what we know now. Diddy has been served with lawsuit after lawsuit the past 2 years, and in March his houses were raided by the FBI. Later, in September, he was arrested for running a crime ring, and he's also had over 20 lawsuits filed against him for how he mistreated and took advantage of people. Since then, details have come out about what the star was doing, and it's honestly just disgusting. Now, most of these incidents actually took place at his infamous parties. While a handful of celebrities who attended his parties say they never saw anything suspicious, it's been revealed that there were different tiers when it came to his parties. One was general admission, and then there were the more exclusive circles, and this is allegedly where the crimes took place. Former music industry insider Tom Swoop broke this all down on his YouTube channel. He said the entrance to the inner circle was where the real partying went on. Now, this allegedly included humiliating male and female guests on the promise of record deals or money. Yeah, why does this kind of sound like some sort of cult or some sort of ritual? Ugh. Now, Tom went on to say that there were a lot of substances present and that Diddy played a horrible so-called joke on a young artist. He said Diddy wanted the artist to do a certain act, and if he did it, Diddy would give him $100,000 in a record deal before claiming that it was a joke when the young artist was about to do it. Now, Tom claimed Diddy told him, "I can make anybody do anything because this is the life they want, and I got the keys to the castle." Now, Tom didn't like any of this, so he left the party thinking, if this is what goes on behind the curtain and you're all comfortable with this, nah, I don't want this life. He added there were so many celebrities there who were cool with who he was and what he did to entertain them. It's not isolated, he added. You need to think of everybody when you think of him and the access and amount of people who were there. Now, Diddy's neighbors in Beverly Hills experienced the aftermath of these parties since he held his white parties there from 1998 to 2009. It was the perfect place because there was a lot of privacy. One neighbor said, "For every 6 or 7 years it was just parties, 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 adding that she saw women at all hours coming out and sitting down on the street. They didn't know where they were. She said they appeared lost and their underwear was showing. Now, with all the allegations against Diddy, this statement is even more chilling. They were known to be wild. A source who attended some of his parties shared in an issue with Us Weekly. Anything went at those parties. Now, according to multiple sources, unsavory behavior took place at Diddy's after parties. What happened before 2 a.m. pales in comparison to what happened at 5 a.m., says the first source. Now, a second source who wrangled guests for Diddy's white parties between 2006 and 2011 similarly told Us Weekly that high-profile celebs would leave around 2 or 3 a.m. because they knew the party was going to take a turn. Girls would start to lose their clothes. That was the signal for people to leave, explains the source, adding that they had benders lasting until 7 a.m. Now, Diddy was arrested in a Manhattan hotel room after a grand jury indictment on September 16th. His lawyer said the star had cooperated with authorities and voluntarily relocated to New York in anticipation of the charges. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court, they added. Now, the next day, in an appearance at the U.S. District Court in New York, Diddy was charged for his crimes and new details emerged. In an indictment that was unsealed, they described him as the head of a criminal enterprise. Prosecutors also alleged that Diddy taped freak-offs and would use footage to pressure his victims into silence. Now, if convicted, the musician faces a sentence of 15 years up to life in prison, but Diddy assures that he's not guilty. Now, he was denied bail after prosecutors argued that he posed a significant risk to the trial, reporting that he had already tried to obstruct the government's investigation of this case, repeatedly contacting victims and witnesses and feeding them false narratives of events. The judge cited the star's anger issues and history of substance use as a reason for keeping him detained until the trial. My concern is that this is a crime that happens behind closed doors, the judge said. Now, Diddy's lawyers have repeatedly appealed the decision, offering to place the star under the watch of a round-the-clock private security team. However, Judge Andrew L. Carter Jr. said that even under those terms, Diddy could still use employees to contact witnesses. So his bail was still denied. He's currently being detained at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until his trial, which is tentatively scheduled for May 5th, 2025. Since he's been arrested, he has faced even more lawsuits. Lawyer Tony Busby said he was representing 120 people who were victims of Diddy, spanning across 25 states, different genders, and all ages. Tony said his firm was working to vet another 100 cases. Diddy's lawyer said the rapper empathetically and categorically denied the allegations, saying they were false and defamatory. Now, at the time of writing this, since Diddy's been in jail, he's faced 17 new lawsuits, with more to come, I'm sure. The whole story is just so disturbing, but Diddy is still claiming his innocence, which at this point is crazy because he so clearly did everything he's being accused of. I mean, he denied any wrongdoing when it came to his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, but we saw that he was lying with the video proof that was leaked, so it's very unlikely that he's telling the truth now. His family, though, is sticking by him. This week, his son Quincy Combs made a post of him and his siblings with their father and said, "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusation, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way," Quincy added. "We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad."
At number 10, we have thinking Kate Hudson won an Oscar. In the world of Hollywood, winning an Oscar is one of the biggest career-changing moments. So when ABC reporter George Penicino said, "Kate, you know what it's like to win an Oscar," to which she was uncomfortable and replied, I've never won an Oscar." For some background information, Kate Hudson starred in movies like Glass Onion, Mother's Day with Jennifer Aniston, as well as How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So I can understand why he thought she would have won. But when you're an interviewer, it's important to have a base of knowledge on the people who are going to be there, so as to not embarrass yourself. And this was no exception. Thankfully for George, he wasn't fired because of his little live television slip-up, but it's safe to say that he has learned his lesson about making assumptions.
Number 9. Zac Efron's Love Tubes. Zac rose to fame as a Disney darling, playing the leading role of Troy Bolton in the popular High School Musical series. Since his Disney days, Zac has lent his face and voice to several projects over the years, but the red carpet event that we're talking about today was for the animated Dr. Seuss movie, The Lorax. Zac, who voiced the main character of the film, was walking the red carpet when he suddenly handed his assistant something in his pocket. As he handed them the product, something fell out of his pocket and onto the ground. That something is a word that I can't say online, so let's just call them love tubes. Zac's love tube wrapper was flat on the carpet right there for the world to see. He quickly picked it up, but the damage was already done. In the first interview following this incident, the interviewer asked Zac if anything unplanned had happened to him recently, and he then explained that it was a complete accident, that there was no pre-show pocket check, anything that could have prevented it. Well, Illumination didn't like that excuse, and they also didn't like their main star being associated with such an adult product. So, when the plans for a Lorax sequel were brought to the studios, Zac's name was left out and replaced by another star. I guess whoever they picked wasn't famous enough because the project was ultimately shelved by the studio, and Zac was able to find work somewhere else. In Baywatch.
At number 8, we have Jim Carrey's existential rant. Jim Carrey is a character who has had many varying roles. From the Grinch in the iconic live-action version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, he was in The Cable Guy with Matthew Broderick, and he most recently played Dr. Eggman in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movies. His IMDb spans on and on, but something important to know about him is that he had really bad depression, and really let himself go over the years. One of those moments, we really saw how the mind of a genius works was when he was on a rant during an interview at the 2017 Harper's Bazaar Icons party. No one really knew why he showed up in the first place if he was so unhappy to be there, but former E! reporter Kat Sadler came up to him to ask him questions. He leaned into the mic and he said, "There is no meaning to any of this." When she asked why he was attending the party, he said that he wanted to find the most meaningless thing he could come to and join, and there he was. Sadler tried to pry about other things and what the term icon meant to him, but he continued to spew existential nonsense that made everyone uncomfortable aside from him. It may not have been gross, but his career did begin to decline, both before and after this.
If there is one thing that should be known about Taylor Swift, is that she can end entire careers with one conversation. In 2015, Taylor was on the red carpet for the Grammy Awards when she was interviewed by Entertainment Tonight. The woman who interviewed her started the interview by asking her cameraman to pan up and down, literally checking Taylor out with this massive camera. It's not weird at all. After going along with the bit for a moment and telling the camera about her dress, the interviewer said that she honestly just wanted a shot of Taylor's legs because, as she said before, Taylor is going to be going home with more than a trophy. Maybe a man. Well, Taylor didn't appreciate that comment or the assumption. She did not laugh and then proceeded to tell the interviewer that she would be going home with no men, just hanging out with friends, maybe some of her cats. While the majority of the interview went well, the interviewers were reprimanded behind the scenes by Taylor herself. The news of Taylor's dislike for the interviewers made its way up to the top, where the ET executives decided to keep them off of the red carpet for a while. Remember, keep your creepy camera gestures to yourself, lady.
At number 6, we have David Letterman with Jennifer Aniston. David Letterman used to be the host of The Tonight Show before Jimmy Fallon took over. He's also a comedian who was successful for many years, and some comedians can take a sketch too far, or commit to a bit that makes people uncomfortable. And that's exactly what happened to a young Jennifer Aniston while on the show with him. They were making conversation, as one does, but then he got up and tried to eat her hair. I understand that you can really like someone as an actor, but when you are actively trying to eat their hair on live television, that is just too far. However, like the true professional she is, she let him. And there are photos out there of David Letterman leaning over Miss Aniston with her hair in his mouth.
Number 5, John Mayer. John may be known for spending time with the ladies, but it's not all peaches and cream. The musician was doing an interview with Playboy magazine in 2010. Now I know it involves Playboy, who are notoriously provocative, but even they thought this interview was just a bit much. John gets into some pretty graphic depictions of things that he wanted to do to Jessica Simpson, using language that cannot be repeated online. But he then ventures off the physical intimacy thing and instead begins to speak about his, and I quote, hood pass, claiming that he had become so popular among black people that he could get away with anything he wanted, and he then called it the N-word pass. Yeah, not a great moment for this guy. Following the interview, fans were beyond upset at his behavior and his attitude towards women and honestly just people in general. Many turned on John, making a massive dent in his career, rightfully so, and nowadays this is one of the only things that he is remembered for. Well, that and his really bad cameo in Get Hard.
At number 4, we have Jay Leno questioning Kanye West. Jay Leno was the host of yet another late night show, and back in 2009, he had Kanye West on his show. You see, the event that caused this was Kanye West interrupting young Taylor Swift's mid-acceptance speech for the best music video, I might add, to say that Beyonce had the best music video and should have won, in front of an audience on TV. For some context, Kanye's mother had passed away in 2007, just a couple years prior to the incident. Jay Leno knew this, and he said that he was fortunate enough to have met his mother. So, Leno, in a very disrespectful fashion, asked Kanye if his mother would have been disappointed in him for doing that, and asked if she would have lectured him. You can see how shocked he is and how hurt he is hearing those words. He almost had no response. Whether or not you're a fan of him, that was still so unprofessional and cruel.
Number 3, Amy Schumer. In the mid-2010s, comedian Amy Schumer was named one of Time magazine's top 100 most influential people and was made to attend a red carpet event to celebrate with her fellow influencers. 2 of them were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. While discussing the incident on the Graham Norton show, Amy revealed that there was a planned prank on Kim and Ye. Her goal was to get them to crack a smile and get some good fun pics from this event, but Kim and Kanye did not find this situation funny and continued to walk past her as she fell in front of them in a dramatic fashion. The best picture is just Kim staring at Amy for a moment being like, okay, and then just moving on. While the moment was meant to create a fun scene, it instead made Amy look like she had some kind of grudge against Kim and Kanye. While not an interview, the incident on the red carpet forced Comedy Central to postpone a season of her show until things were sorted out with Kim. Well, it turned out that not only did Kim not care about this, but she did end up finding the entire thing funny. With the two apparently now being close friends, Amy even made a cameo on Kim's new reality series, The Kardashians.
At number 2, we have the Marvel interview. I use such a vague title because there is a lot to unpack about this interview with Robert Downey Jr. He had a very rocky upbringing, and he was involved in a lot of illegal activities, had substance issues, and has an internet-famous mugshot. But he's been clean for years, all thanks to his wife. So when the man doing the interview for a Marvel movie pressed about his past, it made him very uncomfortable. And it wasn't just asking some surface level questions, he asked about his relationship with his father and mentioned how he has opened up about his issues with liquids and substances and his upbringing. He then went on to ask RDJ if he really thought he was free from all that, or something you think about. This was when RDJ cut him off, left the room, and walked away from the interview. Imagine the audacity the interviewer must have had to even think about asking Robert such a thing, and even though he had been clean for so long and had finally gained the confidence to speak up about it.
And at number 1, Will Smith. That's right, Will Smith is on this list for slapping someone, but it's not Chris Rock. Today we're talking about an incident on the red carpet that left one paparazzo with a massive red mark on their face and a fired stamp on their forehead. Will was walking the red carpet in 2013 giving people interviews when a Ukrainian comedian named Vitaly Sejik approached him, a man who is unfortunately world famous for being an absolutely terrible person, especially towards celebrities. He pretended to be a reporter and started interviewing Will Smith, but then he suddenly pulls Will towards him and tries to kiss him on his cheeks and his mouth. Well, Will obviously shoves him back and gave him a little, "Hey bud, no thank ya," just a little backhand to the face. A team of security following Mr. Smith picked this guy up and carried him away like the toddler he was. Who knew Will was practicing for his Oscar slap all the way back then? Sejik was finally reprimanded for his actions and was actually made to pay a hefty fine for attempting to force himself on Will Smith. Needless to say, that guy works for himself now.
In at number 10, Megan Fox. If you want to keep your job, it's probably best not to compare your boss to Hitler. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland, actress Megan Fox did just this while describing her boss, the Transformers director Michael Bay. Not only did this result in her immediate firing from Transformers Dark Side of the Moon, it also led to the actress being blacklisted in Hollywood for the next few years until she apologized to Mr. Bay. Upon reflecting on her being kicked out of the Transformers franchise, Megan told Cosmopolitan magazine that this was absolutely a low point in her career, but without saying what she said, she wouldn't have learned as quickly as she did. She knew that in order to get her career back, all she had to do was apologize, but she still refused. Fox blames her attitude on being very self-righteous at 23 and not being able to see that this was for the greater good. Probably the greater good of her bank account, I'm imagining. In at number 9, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl seems to be the type of celebrity that just says yes to every opportunity, and then when she regrets it later, she just openly bashes her decisions in the public eye. The main example of this happening was when she co-starred opposite Seth Rogen for the Judd Apatow film called Knocked Up. When Seth Rogen was asked about this, he said that Katherine and him had a great time while working, but mainly because she was improvising a lot of her own stuff, which was overall great for the film. However, not too long after that, she did an interview with Vanity Fair and expressed just how much she hated the entire movie. Heigl said, "It was a little sexist. It paints the women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. It exaggerated the characters, and I had a hard time with it. On some days, I'm playing such a why is she being such a killjoy? Why is this how you're portraying women? 98% of the time it was an amazing experience, but it was hard for me to love the movie." Well, Katherine, now it's hard for anyone to really trust you being in their movie, especially after an interview like that.
She had some commentary about Knocked Up after it came out.
What'd she say?
She didn't like it.
She didn't like it?
But she was so awesome in it, so it was confusing.
In number 8, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen is the exact polar opposite of what you should do when pursuing a career in Hollywood. He carries with him a terrible offset and on-set reputation, and the debacle that he went through in 2011 even led to his contract termination from the show 2.5 Men. For a while, he was all over the news for everything: substance abuse, domestic violence, and even when he revealed that he was HIV positive. With his history of flying off the drop of a hat and trying to get people fired who speak ill of him, Sheen has had a very difficult time rebuilding his career. Although it's hard to put a pin in just one interview in particular that really ended Sheen's career, there are certainly a bevy of bizarre ones to choose from. Perhaps the worst was when he was on the Today Show for a very candid conversation.
People that aren't special, people that don't have tiger blood and, Adonis DNA.
Strong people have relapsed. Strong people have started using again. How do you avoid that?
Fools. Trolls.
In at number 7, Tom Cruise. During an interview in 2005 with former Today Show host Matt Lauer, Tom Cruise wanted to make it very clear to the host that he knew more about the history of psychiatry than Matt Lauer did. This interview came at the height of the publicity about Tom joining Scientology, which became the painfully awkward main subject for a majority of their discussion. The highlight of the interview, though, was when Tom Cruise was asked about his previous criticism of Brooke Shields and her use of antidepressants, for which the megastar actor responded by calling her a glib. Anytime that Matt wanted to argue how antidepressants actually have helped people in the past, Tom would constantly dismiss him and just ask that they move on.
Do you understand that?
The difference is this was not against her will, though. But this wasn't against Brooke's will.
Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand there's abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
In at number 6, Miles Teller. Miles has been involved in more projects following this disaster of an interview, but only because he made a public apology for what he did. For a while following this interview, though, his career seemed to be over. I mean, it really was that offensive to the interviewer that fans condemned the actor for his rude behavior. The young Whiplash actor had plenty of potential until he seemingly closed the door on all future roles with just a single interview. Throughout the 2015 Esquire interview, the actor compared his private parts to a glass, then asked the writer to cut his meat for him at the restaurant where the interview took place, and that he believes that he's better looking than the public thinks he is. Looking back, he admits to being a huge jerk, which is a bit of an understatement to say the least. In at number 5, Jesse Eisenberg.
Do you know the comedian Carrot Top?
Yes, horrible.
Well, you were like the Carrot Top of interviewers.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. No, and it's a good thing. It's
I'm
a
gonna
good
go
thing.
cry now.
No, don't cry now. Cry after the interview's over.
While promoting the film Now You See Me, Jesse Eisenberg just could not contain his utter disdain for this interview. Right out of the gate, he was on the offensive. The interviewer refers to Morgan Freeman simply as Freeman, for which Jesse then takes real offense to. He then, as you saw, remarks that she's the Carrot Top of interviewing, which insults the interviewer so badly that she just hurries Jesse to complete a magic trick or whatever so that they can just wrap this whole thing up. The entire interview is just one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever seen, and this is only number 5 on the list. Trust me though, if you haven't watched this full interview, you must. It is just such a terrible exchange back and forth between an actor and an interviewer. a true masterclass of what not to do in press interviews. In at number 4, Billy Bob Thornton. As great as a career that old Billy Bob has had as an actor, he is also in a band called the Boxmasters. Although oddly enough, whenever he does interviews now, he insists that they only talk about the band and never ever bring up his acting career, which is really weird considering how prolific this guy was as an actor. You'd think if the interviewer was even a little bit of a fan of his, he would be really disappointed to get this demand before starting the conversation with him. The biggest blow up by far that was viewed as one of his most awkward interviews was when he and his band were on the show called Q for CBC in Canada. The interviewer tried his best to talk to Billy, but he always answered in a very confusing and confused way, which left the band feeling awkward to answer the questions on his behalf.
I wasn't instructed to. I'm not really instructed. You guys are here as a band. You're performing, but
the producer was instructed.
Right,
so, but somewhere along the way.
I mean, that was one of the rare times that he actually spoke with the interviewer, and I actually can't believe that he just told the interviewer how he was instructed not to call his music career a hobby. Like, no wonder this guy's had 5 different marriages. All failed. What a rude dude. In at number 3, Tony Danza. Before an interview with a local news station even began, Tony Danza was caught just slamming the local news in very colorful language. Unbeknownst to him, everything he was saying was all airing directly to live television. And then to make matters even worse, the news anchor is desperately trying to get him to just shut up for a second, and when she finally got his attention and gently reprimanded him for his words, Tony Danza didn't even bother apologizing for the unkind words that he was using regarding this woman's profession.
Kim, I'm telling you, this is crazy. I don't want to do this.
Tony.
I'm going to be part of the local news. How exciting.
Nowadays, he would probably beg to be part of any news segment or interview for that matter, considering how this one stunt really sullied his acting career. In at number 2, Hugh Grant. While some English accents may sound charming, Hugh Grant's personality canceled out all of that for Jon Stewart at The Daily Show. After appearing on the show, Jon Stewart said that he was banning Grant for being a big pain in the Stewart continues saying that he would never grant him back on the show. Pun intended. During an onstage Q&A, Jon remarked that they've had dictators on the show, but Hugh Grant was still his least favorite guest. Apparently, Hugh spent most of the day just complaining that he even had to be there, and even flat out said that he had better things to do. For which the staff of The Daily Show didn't really care to hear, nor did Jon Stewart. So, thanks to his high maintenance attitude, he was banned from the show with 0 apologies. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, Pamela Anderson. I don't know if she was wasted or what, but right from the very beginning of this interview in 2006 with the comedian John Rove McManus, it was a disaster. Upon her introduction, she came running out with more energy than that time Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch. Pamela greeted the crowd with a hair flip and then proceeded to toss a handful of green candy, I think they were M&Ms, doesn't matter, grabbed the whole handful, tossed them into the crowd. Candy that was plucked from a bowl at the table of the interview. Take a look at this.
And that's not all by the sounds of things.
Although the real nail in her coffin was the drama that led up to this bizarre interview with the former Baywatch star. According to John, the show runs live and Pamela was late, so he actually had to start the show before she was even in the building. When she finally did show up, she really seemed like she was doing everything to hurry up the process and just get out of there. Multiple times he genuinely asked her if she was okay, but that only made things even more awkward, and thus her career was finished, he said dramatically.
Wendy Williams, Inappropriate Questions. In an electrifying episode of The Wendy Williams Show, we delve into the personal life of the stunning Drea Michelle. The scene unfolds as Wendy, with her usual charismatic flair, delves into the subject. So Drea, how many basketball players have you been with? Wendy Williams never fails to ask inappropriate questions. She asked about her romantic relationships with basketball players, a subject that often generates interest and gossip among fans and media alike. However, amid the juicy details and sensationalized headlines, there's an important issue that often gets overlooked: the objectification of women in sports. Drea Michelle, a successful model and entrepreneur, is no stranger to this type of scrutiny. Despite her achievements and talent, she's often defined by her romantic relationships with NBA players. In fact, many people know her more as the ex-fiancé of Orlando Skandaric rather than for her own career accomplishments. Selena Gomez being asked about X. Just a handful of years back, pop sensation Selena Gomez encountered an unanticipated moment during a television interview. The
interviewer, showing little regard for her personal boundaries, unexpectedly brought up the topic of Justin Bieber's actions. Selena, taken aback by the impromptu and intrusive query, responded with a silent expression of astonishment. The interview reached an abrupt and awkward conclusion as the broadcast was hastily ended. It's clear that the reporter's approach was far from appropriate, bordering on rudeness. Selena has always been a private person when it comes to her personal life, especially when it involves her famous ex-boyfriend Justin Bieber. In fact, she has often avoided discussing their relationship or the reasons for its end in interviews. Understandably so, as breakups can be difficult and emotional, particularly under the scrutiny of the public eye. Despite this, the media and fans couldn't seem to get enough of their relationship, constantly bombarding Selena with questions and speculations. It's understandable that she may have grown tired of having to constantly address a past relationship instead of her own career and achievements. But can we really blame the reporter for asking about JB? After all, at the time, he was making headlines almost daily with his controversial behavior. It's no secret he had acquired a reputation for being a troublemaker, and it was likely a hot topic in the media. Robert Downey Jr. walked out of an interview. After an incident, Robert publicly addressed the issue, explaining why he walked out of the interview. He stated that he felt uncomfortable with the line of questioning and did not want to continue with the interview under those circumstances. This isn't the first time celebrities have walked out of interviews due to personal or sensitive questions. In fact, it's become quite common for celebrities to refuse to answer uncomfortable questions, especially those that invade their privacy. Kourtney Kardashian's no response. In 2016, a rather unexpected scenario unfolded when Kourtney was taken by surprise during an Australian TV news interview. The anchors blindsided her with the question about her sister Kim Kardashian's Paris robbery incident. For a moment, Kourtney seemed to draw a blank, leaving viewers to speculate that she was possibly tuning into a PR agent for guidance on how to navigate the delicate question. During the interview, Kourtney appeared visibly uncomfortable and hesitant to answer the question. It's understandable why she may have been caught off guard. Her sister Kim had recently experienced a traumatic event, and the media was constantly bombarding her family with questions about it. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, Kourtney handled it with grace by choosing not to comment on her sister's ordeal. Instead, she shifted the focus to her own work and accomplishments. That incident sparked a conversation about the challenges of being a celebrity and having to constantly face invasive questions from the media. It also shed light on the importance of setting boundaries and respecting privacy, especially in sensitive situations. Kourtney's response received praise from many for how she handled the situation with grace and poise, despite the uncomfortable circumstances. It's a testament to her character and resilience as a public figure. But that is not the first time that celebrities have had to face abrupt and difficult questions during interviews. In fact, it's become commonplace for journalists to push boundaries and ask personal or controversial questions in hopes of getting a juicy headline. The Emma Stone prank. In 2014, there was a memorable moment featuring the talented Emma Stone on The Graham Norton Show. Emma was touring the UK to spread the word about her latest film, and Graham Norton, the host, was keen to discuss her well-known affection for the Spice Girls. With Emma already in full-blown fan mode, Graham decided to add a twist. He made her believe that her idols, the Spice Girls, were waiting backstage, a surprise she hadn't anticipated. But just as Emma's excitement soared to the highest point, Graham revealed it was all just a prank. You could see the disappointment on her face when she realized she would not be meeting the iconic girl group that day. In this hilarious moment, Emma showed her genuine admiration for the Spice Girls and how much their music had influenced her. She even admitted to dressing up as Baby Spice when she was younger. This just goes to show that celebrities are also fans of other celebrities, and it's heartwarming to see them geek out over their idols just like us. Ariana Grande calling out interviewers. You might remember that interview where Ariana didn't hesitate to call out the hosts for asking an overtly sexist question. But that wasn't the only time she stood up for herself. During a conversation about new emoji updates, she mentioned her preference for the unicorn emoji. As soon as she expressed this, one host suggested that the unicorn emoji is only loved by girls and boys, without explaining what the term refers to. In response, Grande quickly advised the Power 106 FM hosts to familiarize themselves with the idea of equality in what can be seen as an awkward situation. She managed to keep herself calm and collected, a reaction many of us would find difficult to maintain in similar situations. You may be wondering how someone like Ariana managed to stay so composed and collected in such a situation. The answer is quite simple. She's always been an advocate for equality and fairness. This incident was just one example of her standing up for what she believes in. In fact, Grande has been vocal about many social justice issues, including sexism, racism, and LGBTQ+ rights. She's used her platform and influence to bring attention to these important issues, often through her music. One of the most notable examples is Grande's song God Is a Woman, which sparked conversations about gender roles and empowerment. The music video for this song featured powerful imagery of women taking control and challenging societal norms. It's a clear message message from Grande that women are strong and capable and should not be limited by traditional gender roles. Dakota Johnson and Ellen DeGeneres. Let's talk about a certain interview that may have left us thinking that this lady might not be best suited for the media rounds. Fast forward to 2019 when Dakota had a little tete-a-tete with Ellen DeGeneres. It seems there was a bit of a mix-up over a birthday invite. Upon receiving a playful jab from Ellen hinting that she was left off the guest list for Dakota's 30th bash, Dakota clapped back, "Actually, that's not true, Ellen. I did send you an invite, but you were a no-show." The conversation took another turn with Dakota suggesting that Ellen might not be a fan of hers. Talk about a cringe moment. While the conversation may have started off lighthearted, it quickly took a turn towards tension when Dakota revealed that Ellen had missed her birthday party. This exchange sparked speculation among fans and media outlets about a potential feud between the two stars. After all, why would Ellen miss such an important occasion for someone she supposedly didn't like? However, both Dakota and Ellen quickly put these rumors to rest. In a later interview, Dakota clarified that there was no bad blood between them and that the missed invitation was simply a mistake. Justin Timberlake being asked why he wants to act. Next up, an interesting moment from the press junket of Friends with Benefits, a film featuring Justin Timberlake. When a Russian reporter questioned the rationale behind Justin's transition from singing to acting, Mila stunned everyone by responding swiftly and cleverly in Russian. She retorted, "So what would you have him do instead?" Mila Kunis's reply was an apt slapdown to the journalist's narrow perspective. Speaking in fluent Russian, she defended her co-star, subtly conveying that talent is not confined to a singular career path. Her retort not only showed her quick wit and loyalty to her fellow actor, but also highlighted her cultural versatility. This incident serves as a reminder that artists should be encouraged to explore their full range of talents and capabilities rather than being pigeonholed into specific roles or professions. It also showcased Mila Kunis's linguistic abilities and her ability to think on her feet, making her a multidimensional and impressive individual in the entertainment industry. And Tom Hardy gets defensive. In 2015, during a promotional tour for the movie Legend, actor Tom Hardy found himself in a rather uncomfortable encounter with a reporter. The reporter, trying to be subtle, decided to probe into Hardy's personal life, specifically his sexuality. However, Hardy was quick to discern the intent behind the question. Addressing the reporter head-on, Hardy inquired, "Are you asking me about my sexuality?" When the reporter confirmed, Hardy, visibly displeased, retorted, "Why? Why?" Hardy's response showcases his resistance to being defined by a single aspect of his identity. In today's society, individuals are often subjected to labels and stereotypes based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, and other aspects of their identities. This can be seen in the media, where celebrities face constant scrutiny and pressure to conform to societal norms and expectations. Hardy's reaction to the reporter's question highlights the importance of not reducing someone to a single aspect of their identity. Each person is complex and multifaceted, and it's unfair to place them in a box based on one characteristic. Samuel L. Jackson mistaken for Lawrence Fishburne. The pinnacle of awkward moments surely has to be an interviewer getting the identities of their interviewees wrong, and this situation occurred even before the interview had properly begun. The ever-memorable Samuel L. Jackson didn't hesitate to correct this reporter when he mistakenly identified him as Lawrence Fishburne. At first, Jackson played along, asking the interviewer to clarify which commercial he was referring to. Then he allowed a rather uncomfortable silence to prevail before finally revealing it was actually Lawrence Fishburne who starred in the commercial. This was a cringeworthy moment indeed. The interview incident mistaking Samuel for Lawrence serves as a reminder to always do proper research and make sure you have the correct information before interviewing someone. Hello. Not only did that mistake cause an awkward moment, but it also showed a lack of professionalism on the part of the interviewer.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Katherine Heigl. We gotta be honest here and say there's probably a few interviews that affected her career, but one back in 2008 pretty much landed her on Hollywood's blacklist. She took the lead in the 2006 movie Knocked Up, and the movie, as well as her performance, was well received. Apparently not by the actress herself though, who opened up about how she felt about the movie later on in 2008. In the January issue of Vanity Fair, she said the movie was, I quote, "a little sexist. It paints women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. It exaggerated the characters, and I had a hard time with it some days. Why is this how you're portraying women?" This interview alone was enough for people in Hollywood to turn away from wanting to work with her, but it was sealed when she did another interview in 2008 where she dissed the writing in her show Grey's Anatomy. The actress has to figure out a way to either keep her mouth shut or just choose her words wisely.
I'm not a rude person. I'm not an unkind or mean person. I would never go out of my way or consciously try to hurt anyone's feelings or make them feel bad or uncomfortable or not be professional and do my job. I like my job.
And at number 9 is Paula Abdul. Back in January 2007, the American Idol judge did an interview that went viral instantly. Throughout the video, which happened to be filmed, she slurred her words, wobbled, swayed, and spoke a bunch of nonsense, basically. News anchors from Q13 Fox News Live streamed Paula from New York to do a live interview with her, but because of how she was acting, they thought there was some sort of connection issue.
Oh, I don't know if she can hear us right now.
They kept saying there must be a problem and that she can't hear them properly, but that wasn't really the case at all. Even when she did respond to their questions, she was acting like she was highly intoxicated. She was closing her eyes, slurring her words, just acting kind of all manic and weird. Later, she tried to explain, saying that there was a connection error at first, and they had a station from Alabama in her ear along with the Fox News at the same time. But once they fixed it, she blamed the rest of the erratic behavior on just being tired. She said fatigue and exhaustion just added to the whole thing, looking so disoriented. But no alcohol and no drugs. Absolutely no. The interview had a huge effect on her career. 2 years later, she wasn't able to land another contract with American Idol. The world didn't see much of her for years until she snagged a judging role on So You Think You Can Dance. However, her career just hasn't been the same ever since. Sliding into the number 8 spot on our list is 5 Seconds of Summer. Back in 2015, the band managed to alienate both their fans and a lot of fellow artists and celebrities in just one interview, and since then the world hasn't heard much of them since. In December 2015, their interview with Rolling Stone left people really pissed off. Michael Clifford, who admitted during the interview that he was hungover, bashed the American Music Awards, which they performed at the night before. He said the show was compromised and had, I quote, a lot of fake people. He also called out Justin Bieber and said he thinks he hates them, for no apparent reason at all. Luke Hemmings from the band left fans and parents feeling disgusted after saying, when you put 4 young dudes on a tour bus playing theaters then arenas, you're going to have sex with a lot of girls, I guess. We had a good time. The interviewer awkwardly joked back, asking if they slept with multiple girls in one night or at the same time, and he responded with, I feel like I shouldn't say. You can say the possibility of that is high. People were pretty repulsed by their interview, and things just haven't been the same for their stardom since that day. Next up at number 7 is R. Kelly. He did some major damage for his career back in 2008 when he made comments about being with underage girls. But this interview came after he went to trial for being accused of child pornography. Kelly was accused of making a 27-minute sex tape with an underage female, but after going to trial, the jury declared him not guilty on all 14 counts. People were all feeling some type of way about him, some believed him and some didn't. But his interview after the trial didn't help paint a very good self-portrait. During an interview with BET, he was straight up asked, do you like teenage girls? After everything that went on with court, you would think his response would be an immediate no. However, he responded by saying, when you say teenage, how young are we talking? He went on to say that he has some 19-year-old female friends, but none that are technically illegal. After the interview was aired on BET, Kelly's team saw it and demanded that it never be shown again. It was already too late though, the damage had already been done.
This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my
And at number 6 is Miles Teller. The actor had a promising career, especially after his role in Whiplash back in 2014. But it was after an interview in 2015 where his career took a hit and began to stall. In August 2015, he did an interview with Esquire, and he thought it would be appropriate to tell the female writer, and their waitress, that the bar glass was modeled after his private parts. He obviously used a much more vulgar term, but I'm definitely not going to repeat it. He was pretty sassy too, trying to demand the writer to cut his meat for him when their food came. The interview didn't paint the actor in a very positive light and says that things were changed around. After receiving tons of backlash from it, he told Vulture, I quote, if how that story made me look was how I really was, I'd think I was the biggest douchebag too. I know who I am, and it's not who I was in that story. Since then, he hasn't been able to book movies like he used to and has only about 6 credits to his IMDb in the last 4 years. Some of you might not even heard of any of them. Halfway through the list at number 5 is the Chainsmokers, another time when a band tried a little too hard to be edgy and just came off as super lame instead. Back in 2016, Billboard did a cover story on the band where they said things that people weren't too thrilled about. Andrew Taggart told the magazine, I quote, we rage every night. My mom's going to hate reading that, but she already knows. But his DJ partner Alex Pal said that they were pros, saying, but you'll never see us getting carried out of a club. We're way too good at drinking. Both band members continued on with the interview and thought it was appropriate to bring up their groupies, even though they both had live-in girlfriends at at the time. Alex said even before success, was #1. And then Andrew chimed in saying, like, why am I trying to make all this money? I wanted to hook up with hotter girls. I had to date a model. We're just frat bro dudes, you know what I mean? Loving ladies and stuff. And drum roll please for the worst part of the entire interview, the boys also revealed the size of their privates, saying that they measured from tip to tip. Classy. Here we are at #4 with Gary Coleman. The actor sadly passed away at just 42 years old, so this is in no way to disrespect him, but to share what happened leading up to his very controversial death. The actor always had medical issues, but often didn't like to speak on them. On May 26, 2010, the actor fell down the stairs while at home with his wife and had to go to the hospital after cracking his head. He was treated, but the next day he went unconscious and landed on life support, where he died on May 28th. People were suspicious as to what actually happened, and rumors began to fly saying that his wife had actually pushed him down the stairs. Now, the only reason that they thought this was because they went to court after she accused him of physically abusing her. The couple was always known for their altercations, and even appeared on the show Divorce Court. This is what led to Gary having an interview that impacted his career in a very negative way. One of the female hosts on The Insider asked him if he abuses his wife, and when he wouldn't flat out deny it, she begins to question if it's true or not, and that's basically when he lost it. He ended up saying to her, I quote, "Go F yourself. I don't know you, I don't care about you, your life doesn't matter to me. If you get hit by a bus tonight, I'm not going to care."
There is no abuse that goes on in my house. Now, if people believe that I'm waffling, then they can go do what they need to do.
Did you abuse your wife? Did you abuse her? Did you lay your hand on her?
And you know what? You can go the same place.
Then he storms off the set and tells all of the hosts to go themselves. People were stunned by his anger and reaction, and he wasn't very well received after that. Alright guys, at #3 is Megan Fox. It is no surprise to anyone anymore that her career started to fizzle away after the Transformers incident when she publicly bashed the director. In 2009, Fox told Wonderland that the director of the film series, Michael Bay, is, I quote, like Napoleon, and he wants to create this insane, infamous madman reputation. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is. She went on to call him a nightmare to work with and said that he has no skills at all. As a result from her interview remarks, she was fired from Transformers Dark Side of the Moon and was only booking smaller roles and cameos. It wasn't until she later apologized to Bay that she was allowed back in the director's blockbuster movies, which is how she got to start in his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise. However, Bay told GQ it was actually Steven Spielberg who demanded that he hire Fox, and added that she may not have been the most professional actress on set. I thought Michael Bay was someone you don't want to be on bad terms with, but if the real issue is Steven Spielberg, that's even worse. In at #2 is Charlie Sheen. He has a list of things that all play a factor on why his career came to an end. One of them was his ridiculous and totally inappropriate behavior during his interview with ABC when he confessed to still being on drugs. Actually, when he asked if he still uses drugs, his exact response was, "I am on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. It is not available. If you try it once, you will die. Your face will melt off and your children will weep over your exploded body." He went on to talk about sleeping with prostitutes and said that they are the best at what they do and has no problem admitting that part of his sex life. The entire interview is manic and whack, but no one could ever forget his famous line when asked about how he survived his huge drug binges. He responded with, "I have tiger blood in my veins." Since then, it's been an ongoing joke, along with his career. However, rumor has it that he has sobered up and it's possible he will be making a comeback. Taking the #1 spot on our list is Tara Reid, only because it was so shocking. The sweet blonde shocked the world after showing up drunk to an interview, or so it appeared. Back in August 2018, she did an interview with Today Extra on Australia's Channel 9 to promote her movie The Last Sharknado. But throughout the interview, she was slurring her words, spoke very quietly, and often just trailed off. When you watch it, there's moments when you feel like she might actually fall asleep.
It really makes sense from the first one. It really does it makes a complete circle. And
after the interview, rumors started that she was drinking again, which was a problem from her past. She released a statement afterwards, not giving any kind of reasoning for her weird behavior, but insisted that people have no reason to worry about her health. However, people were still very much worried.